We all go a little mad sometimes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
They're here.
I like you. I'm Lee.
It's they like you.
I like you.
And I'm Nate, and you're listening to They're Here podcast,
A
discussion
and dissection
of all things horror
fear
and the macabre. Corn on the macabre.
So today we bring you Talk to Me.
Oh, you going to do the introduction to this one?
Yeah.
Oh, is that how it's going to happen?
It already did.
Bitch.
So this is a movie I think that we kind of all really, really enjoyed. Like, just kind of very, like, on surface, enjoyed the shit out of it. I didn't do too much digging into it last night. I kind of just sat with it and was, like, just thinking more about stuff.
Yeah.
I was saying this movie, like, implies a lot of really scary ideas about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of freaked me out in a different way than I was expecting it to. Like, it didn't, like, straight up, like, like, freak me out. But there was, like, moments in it where I was, like, applying it to real life that, like, would freak me out. You know, I can, like, relate to this movie in, like, a weird way that I don't like, but in a way that I do like. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I don't know, this movie made me, like, uncomfortable, but in a way that I enjoy from horror movies.
Well, I mean, it is A24. It's going to be, how do I say it? It's going to be the type of film that does make you think. It does make you look at things in a certain light. It does crop up dread. It's not always about the jump scares, which I'm happy for every now and then.
Yeah.
But I do think that this type of film definitely has a certain type of dread to it that it works. It works. She works, you know?
It was very scary. Because it also, it like gave me something different than we're used to. Because I said to you a couple of weeks ago off the record, I'm kind of sick of grief being the real monster or depression being the real monster. It was like this, like, had a lot of potential to go that way and didn't.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad for, because it's like we've kind of seen that, especially from the kind of A24 brand of horror.
Yeah.
Now that worked for me with Midsommar and Hereditary and kind of like a couple of more things that came out like
Saint
after
Maud
that.
Definitely deals with it.
Yeah. It's like I'm depressed and the horror is
and this
being
is
depressed.
Yeah.
And then because that we're kind of left with a lot of like unreliable narrators. Mm-hmm. So it kind of leaves a lot to the imagination of being like, well, did it really happen? Or is this just like the artistic expression of how depression feels?
Yeah.
Because in this movie, everything does happen and it is happening, which I do like. It didn't really leave a lot to like figure out, I don't think, except for kind of the ending.
Yeah.
Like the ending is kind of left open a little bit, but also
It's a little
still
ambiguous.
very clear.
Yeah.
As to like what did happen. It's just up to you with like what you do about it already. There's no way we've been talking for 3.5 minutes already. That's mad.
That's crazy. So this is a directorial debut for Danny Philippou and Michael Philippou.
YouTubers.
Because they are YouTubers.
Yeah, that's
so I
really
think
cool.
that's also an interesting like translation, because their previous kind of stuff, if you've seen any of their videos on YouTube and stuff, they're always like super comedic.
Yeah.
But they're very well done comedic values.
What's their YouTube name again? It's actually really interesting.
God, you have me there.
Oh, I'll figure it out.
But they did basically, like, during the production of this film, they also were still doing YouTube videos and things like that, and they were doing these sort of updates about the movie and how it was getting on, and it's just really good. And like, they were also the writers, as well as Bill Hinsman and Daley Pearson.
Raka Raka. That's their YouTube name.
Oh yeah, and So I did. I really, really enjoyed this movie. For anyone who hasn't seen the trailer, this was actually my pick for like whatever it was, because I wanted to say it's been something that I've been like repeatedly seeing crop up on my feed and things like that. And I was like, okay, when it comes out, we want to go see that.
I think first time I saw, because I was only talking about this to Lena last night. She was like, "What's it about?" And I was like, I don't want to tell you, but we saw the trailer. I'm pretty sure the first time we saw the trailer was when we went to go see Evil Dead.
Yes.
And we were kind of like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Oh, immediately I was like, when that comes out, we're reviewing that. Because I think I even turned to you, like, what was it? I think it was the Evil Dead. Yeah, because Emma was there, and was Aisling there?
No, it was me, you, Lena, and Kev.
And then I immediately just turned to you. It was like, we're going to review that.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, we're
reviewing
reviewing
logo
it.
with the hands.
We didn't get that!
Any mention of A24 at all.
But we did get 18 different logos.
It was crazy, because there was a couple of points where I was kind of like, okay, the movie's starting. And then it was another production logo. And it was like, Jesus.
I could see CinemaSins,
Ding!
30 seconds of logos. Like doing this for sure.
We also didn't sit together, which was kind of weird. I've never done that before, where I've had to like split like where we're sitting. Yeah. We went to go see this in like a tiny, tiny screen, which added to it for me for some reason.
It was a little bit more intimate when it's a smaller screen, because you're much more aware of other people
everybody.
around you.
I kind of loved it though, because this is like this is where like the cinema goes in the same direction, but in a positive way for me than Insidious. Because with Insidious, those girls were talking. And to be fair, they were talking about the movie sometimes, but in a way that was like overwhelming and completely distracting. But with this, we had a very reactionary audience. Yes. And because there was probably like 50 people in there max.
50?
I would say there's probably 50 seats there.
But there was about 20, maybe 30 people there.
I would say it was like, I would say about 30 people there. But everybody was reactionary, which is what I love about going to see horror movies in the cinema. I think it's a whole different experience. Or why I feel like horror movies are so good in a group setting, because everybody will react. And you had Bola and I had Emma. And they're two people who are very reactionary to horror movies, which I love.
Yeah. So, just in case, if you don't know the sort of like premise to this film, it's when a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on this kind of quote-unquote new thrill drug, can we say?
It's sold to us like a drug. Yeah,
until one of them goes a little too far and quote-unquote unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. Yeah. So I'm going to say it straight out. I gave this film roughly a 7 out of 10 to 8 out of 10. I give it a solid B,
I would say like A minus B plus.
Okay.
I think we were saying last night. Now, mind you, this movie was very interesting because we talked about it for the whole time after we left.
Oh yeah, on the way home.
Yeah.
We
split.
Because that's a good sign that the movie kept you thinking about it.
Exactly. There was enough ambiguous where we were like, okay, what's this? And we all kind of had different readings of it a little bit. I will say, I think the movie could have been scarier, but I don't know what I would have done to make it scarier.
I actually
in like a horror movie kind of way.
I actually have a theory or two that I'll get into as we go along, because there were certain characters that I thought got let off the hook too easily.
Like,
yeah. That I think that could have been taken in a very interesting direction. Yeah. Which I'll talk about, because I actually have a very, very cool kind of like thought process as to how you could fuck that person up, or like really terrify this person, or blah blah blah. So the one thing I sort of took away from the film is obviously there's a very kind of little bit of undertone of grief to it. There's loss of
it's there,
but it's not overpowering.
Yeah.
The film is kind of an allegory for dealing with grief, connection, drug use, and teen pressures. Yeah. So, it's inspired by... There's this kind of funny little thing that I found out. It was inspired by the directors being showed a video of a kid getting a very bad reaction to drugs when he started... an epileptic fit and convulsed on the floor, and everyone just started videoing him instead of helping him.
Yeah, that's kind of how they gave me.
And it straight up just told me, it was like, I mean, from the scenes, as soon as Mia says talk to me, everyone just whips out their phones.
That was like a whole big point in the trailer, because the trailer was basically that first scene, up until she like flies back. Yeah. That's kind of like the most that we get. Now, I knew that was coming up because I do remember her wearing that yellow jumper in the trailer. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we like you. I remember kind of being like, oh shit, like, we're going to get into that straight away. Because I also thought that they were only going to really do it once. Mm. But they kind of have like a whole party scene later when she does it twice, and then everybody does it a bunch of times that night.
Yeah.
But like she says it feels like you're glowing and you can like see and feel and hear everything.
Yeah, they call it like a very kind of euphoric sense of like freedom or something like that.
Fun.
No, it doesn't. It looks like you're like having a heart attack and
choking
and convulsing.
The whole thing is like
yeah.
And then they're like, hold it. Yeah. Hold it. And then they break out of it and they start like they become kind of a conduit for spirits and stuff.
Sophie Wild, who plays Mia, like
I love
her performance
her.
is excellent.
I really love
absolutely
her.
excellent.
It's all set in Australia, by the way. All Australian and New Zealand.
Oh yeah,
actors.
you didn't know from like the 19 logos.
That's like everything was like the Australian Film Board, the International Australian Film Board. You know.
The Sydney Film Festival.
Yeah, for real.
All of these. Oh my god.
So this is kind of also an indie movie in like its purest form as well.
It is. Because it's done by the National Lottery thing, which is an independent film company and production company. So I really, really do appreciate especially the fact that these guys are YouTubers. And as a debut film, like I can see this film doing extremely well. It does really, really well.
And also, distributed by A24, which is kind of getting back to their roots a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like as of late, they've been going much bigger and much bigger budget.
A la Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Exactly, like that got Oscars and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, this is kind of...
Directed by the Daniels.
It's kind of Kane Parsons in a way. Like, he did the Backrooms and stuff, and he's getting a movie by A24, and he started on...
So fucking excited for
19.
that. I want it. I want that because what is it?
Really
liminal spaces?
Yeah, spaces that you move through. Spaces that aren't supposed to be occupied.
Yeah.
Or like empty spaces and stuff. The Backrooms really creeped me out in like a very different way than I'm used to. In borderline a Blair Witch way.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of like, oh god.
There's this YouTube channel that does no, they don't call it the Backrooms, it's just liminal spaces.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like almost like bathhouse.
I was going to say, it's like the deeper you go, like the harder it is to get out.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, how do I describe it? It's all just
like
tiles everywhere, and like water that might go up to your ankles, but as you get further and further, it goes up to your knees, and like you'll start noticing that some hallways get darker very quickly than others.
It is like, it's always like just slightly around the corner.
Yeah,
you can't quite see.
Yeah, it's just creepy.
But mind you, he didn't come up with the idea of the Backrooms, but I think like he's now synonymous with it. I think like
there are artists that have done things
series.
like that before.
Yeah.
So he just capitalized that and made it into, I want to say, like a CGI, like almost game experience.
It's completely made in Blender.
Yeah.
Which is insane because it looks photorealistic.
Yeah.
I will say Blender has actually become one of my favorite kind of mediums for horror lately on YouTube. There's this, I'll figure it out. We'll add it in later or something. There's this artist I watched that, so there's this YouTube channel I watch called, by the name of Ali Awada, and they do like Jurassic Park horror, but they do it all completely in Blender.
Ooh.
So it's like they have like a river chase thing where it's like one of the park operators going along the river at night doing like maintenance and stuff, and they're chased by a dinosaur. But it like genuinely scared the shit out of me.
Really?
But all done in Blender, which is like a free program you can do. It's like you can like make video games or something like the Backrooms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think like YouTube is like slowly starting to become a really good breeding ground for horror.
Yeah.
Like evident by this movie.
Which I think, it's something worth kind of checking into, because that's almost like, I don't want to say cosmic horror, but it's something adjacent to it where you can't just completely understand it, and the more unknown it is, the more scarier it is.
Yeah, like you can't wrap your head around it.
Exactly, and I think if we put more faith into things like the very simple idea of just wandering through empty spaces would really freak people out.
It is though. It's the same fear you get where you're going up to your hotel room.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you have to walk through the corridors.
Yeah,
I remember at my Uncle Kevin's wedding, a little whatever. I like went down to the beach to like have a J. It was like 4 a.m. and it was like gorgeous. And then walking back up through the hotel, I literally ran back to my hotel room because it's just this idea of like halls upon halls and like again a liminal space, places where you're just supposed to walk through. You're not supposed to really be there.
Yeah.
It's just creepy. It's like that same fear of like The Shining, like being like in all those hallways and like that kind of stuff really freaked me out. But yeah, YouTube is definitely like a really good breeding ground for horror as of late. And it's really good to see that kind of get put on the main stage. It's really, really nice. It's also really like refreshing because there's
new ideas.
Exactly. There's not studio interference.
It's not just fucking remake on top of remake on top of redux on top of relegacies and
exactly. People can really kind of do whatever they want. And now I
just give faith to more independent people. Exactly.
We see you Zach after. I do like the fact that we're getting a lot of more like creative freedom when it comes to horror on YouTube. It's very like refreshing. Yeah, and it kind of gives me a little like faith as well. It's like because like for years I think we've all kind of been thinking that YouTube is like the new television. Yes, you know, so it's like it's nice to see it get like going worldwide. Down
a YouTube K-hole of like 20-second videos about like Cthulhu and liminal spaces and philosophy and shit like that. It's really, really good.
Now just give me a straight up Cthulhu movie.
We did get one, but it wasn't that great.
Underwater was fun, if that's one I think you're thinking of.
Yeah.
It's because it's the first one where I was like, that's Cthulhu. Mm-hmm. There's no way that's not Cthulhu. You know?
It was only confirmed afterwards that it was.
It was cool though.
So I like it just like totally like spinning out of that like tangent. I just want to very briefly like speak on Sophie Wild's like excellent performance as Mia. Like she's trying to balance the grief aspect to her character while trying to find her teenage angst in the scenarios and that she's in. Like she suffers from anxiety and depression from the death of her mother by apparent suicide, because it's never confirmed nor denied whether this is all real or not.
I think she killed herself.
I think she did.
Or it might have been like an accident though.
And it's an overdose of sleeping pills.
So I think she might have, my reading is that she maybe tried to kill herself and then regretted it. Like halfway through. We got a similar thing in Smile. Yeah. Where she made that decision. It's usually you'll find like people who have hung themselves, they've tried to undo it.
Hanged themselves.
I think you get hanged. I think you've been hung.
I am hung.
There is a difference though. Like I think
hanged is the term.
When you, I think you have hung yourself. You have been hanged by somebody.
No, that's not how that works.
It is. Hold on.
So the opening one-shot tracking shot is excellent. The party scene is really good. Is a good way to introduce the level of angst in this film.
Shut up, cunt. The Australianness of this is, I love it.
To introduce the level of angst in the film is about to show you like this, like how brutal the film is going to be. It immediately sets the tone for what's really going on. You know, it was like within less than a minute, like we had literally 2 deaths. Yeah. It was great. So this guy who's the first holder of the embalmed hand, shall we say, is basically like stabs his brother through the gut and then literally turns around and immediately stabs himself through the eye.
But like embeds it in his face though. It's like the whole knife goes into his skull. Yeah. You also were right though. Hung refers to anything except for being killed. Hanged is when you are killed.
Boom.
Yeah, but you can't read though. Yeah, the mom was just there, and I wasn't sure if
she was like chopping up celery. I was like, she prepping dinner or something?
Like their house. Yeah. Because she was like, your brother's going fucking crazy. And I was like, the dingo ate your baby. I was like, okay. But I thought that was his mom. But then when he was breaking out the door, he's like, you're breaking my fucking mother's door. And I was like, oh God. Then what is she? Going on?
Is she the mother? Is she not? What's going on?
Because then they break the door down. No, they break the door through. Because that was a cheap ass door. He went into it once and the whole thing like caved in. I was like, whoa. You can like see the cardboard of it all. Or I think that's just a thing with like a cheaper house or something like that, is like you can like just break straight through the door or through the wall or whatever. And when he breaks through the door, the brother is just sitting there, like
saying
facing
like,
away.
our dad is lying, or my dad is telling you he's lying, or you're lying, or something like that. It's something about the ghosts are not actually the people that they're meant to be.
And this is all kind of like muttering, so we like don't know what any of this means yet. And then we later find out this is where the hand comes from, or this is like who had the hand before this group. It's not just like exposition to just show you how it works or whatever.
Fucking brutal though.
But then literally as soon as it happens, like as soon as he's bringing him out of the room, everybody's recording. So it's kind so kind of how things are getting kicked
Turn
off.
your fucking phones off.
And to be fair, I did like that though. Like he's like sticking up for his brother, because his brother is like obviously fucking going through it. And then he just gets stabbed, and even then, people don't immediately peel away.
Yeah,
People
they're
are
still videoing it. Yeah,
because I actually noticed there's a couple that are like making out, and they kind of like, they don't get up and go immediately. They're like the last people to leave.
It's definitely like, oh, there's the rain. It's raining again. So I think it's, again, like, as I was saying, like, it definitely sets the tone for, like, how brutal the film gets. And it's not gory in a sense, it's just very visceral.
Came out of nowhere, really.
Yeah, it's sort of very unexpected, very tense in that one moment, because you don't know as he's standing there, because all you see is his back, you don't see his face until he turns around.
But he's got, like, gashes. He's got injuries.
He looks like he's been attacked, or he may have harmed himself, or things like that, in a certain sense. But I thought it was like, I was like, fuck. And
or was he still kind of in it? Do you know what I mean? Because his face looked fucked up. But I think kind of in the way your face looks fucked up when you're like on the thing. Because we don't get like a close-up on his face or anything. So we can't see like the black eyes or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I kind of now, just in this conversation, I'm thinking that like they had probably just done that at the party.
Yeah.
Like done the hand at the party. And then they like called his brother to be like, you need to come get your brother.
Yeah.
You know?
It's fucked up.
Because, they do it as, like, a party favor kind of thing, I guess. But again, like, none of it looks pleasant.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that is very clear foreshadowing is the kangaroo.
Yeah.
So, the kangaroo, we should actually say this from the get-go. We are reviewing this. We're not telling you to fucking spoiler warning, like, fuck off. If you haven't seen the film, go watch it.
Yeah, if you're gonna watch a fucking, like, hour or two long review of something, expect spoilers.
Exactly.
We're not gonna dance around it.
So the kangaroo is a clear foreshadowing to the ending, as Mia cannot seem to commit to her own decisions, which is
one way or the other.
Yeah, so it's like, she can't bring herself to like sever the connection between her own grief and the dying animal on the road. Even like her best friend says, like, you could have just rang RSPCA, but she can't fully commit to it because she can't face the grief of murdering the animal, because it'll only compound the grief she's already going through.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to deal with the grief at all, so she just can't bring herself to do it. And Riley, who's in the seats because she picked him up,
played by Joe Bart, I believe his first movie.
Awesome. Really fucking pulled that performance through. Really
well.
Good. It was so like sad just to see the kangaroo like just like
that. I was going to say that actually really got Emma, like, because the kangaroo's there and it's like actively, because it's actively
crying out
because it's not fucked.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it was, like, beyond help.
Yeah, it just looked like it'd been hit.
Like, it looked like it had, like, a broken leg or something.
Yeah.
And Emma literally was like, oh.
And then we find out later from that, like, flash that the kangaroo is actually dead.
Yeah. Is it?
Well, that's what I got from that reading.
I kind of got that she was just, like, remembering the kangaroo at this point, because she is looking at Riley as the kangaroo. I'm not sure, because I don't think that you talk to the hand and then there's like a kangaroo there. Yeah.
Oh my god, Kangaroo Jack!
I thought there was going to be maybe something to it, like leading up to going to see this, of like the kangaroo and the idea of like, I might be sounding a little bit like, a little too intellectual about it or something, but the idea of like, kangaroos, like the marsupial aspect of like they carry their babies with them. I kind of thought that they might have started to do something with that. Like before we had seen the movie.
Yeah.
Because I knew getting into it that it was about her mother, or that her mother was an aspect of it. So I was like, okay, are they going to kind of use that as an allegory,
As an
maybe?
image, yeah.
Because of how close they keep their children. It's not just, you're beside me, you're like physically carried in my body, like even after birth. Do you ever see...
Oh yeah, no, that's
kangaroos?
nasty.
It's like gooey, or it's like fleshy.
Yeah.
But then also they keep the babies in there right after they're born until they become furry. So they're just...
Gooey.
It's
for a while.
It's weird, yeah.
Well, speaking of the hand... the hand is brought up in like Snapchat and Instagram stories. And
actual Snapchat.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's not some weird like Insta pics or whatever.
Yeah.
It's always some weird extra thing.
It was just really strange that like they don't believe it's real until like they finally go and see it for themselves and shit. And like it's brought to the party by Josh and Haley, who they seem to treat it like
Emma turned to me, she was like, "Is that a girl?"
I was
like, like, quote unquote a girl, and I was like, yeah, I guess.
And like they seem to treat it as like the new party drug. You know what I'm saying? Like per se, you know. Played by Zoe Tarakis and Chris Alosio. I wanted to see them.
He's so hot.
I wanted to see them a little bit more. I wanted to see like why they were the ones that got the hand, or what they were experiencing.
I figured they were at that last party.
Yeah.
And they snatched it, because it's that he is like, oh, my friend gave it to me, or he said I could borrow it, but I don't think that's how it went down.
No,
I
he
think,
basically stole it. He definitely stole it.
in the same way that me did, though. I think, like, in the, like, kerfuffle of the party, I think he just snatched it. He's so hot, by the way. I think wait, let me check how old he is, actually.
Well, while you're doing that...
also, he is from New Zealand, though.
So he is...
Yeah, he's Samoan.
Yeah. Maori.
No, he's Samoan from New Zealand.
Okay, yeah.
It can happen.
Yeah. So...
Like, you could be Maori and be Irish.
Yeah. So, I wanted to see them possibly get their own comeuppance towards the end of the film. At least something spooky, because during the film, they're the ones who specifically disregard the hand's powers and literally use it for entertainment.
Oh, he's 28. Okay, we're good.
They didn't, and they also, like, not to kind of jab the finger at them, they didn't warrant anything worth, like, possible injury or death or anything like that.
She's kind of nefarious, though.
Yeah, like, I would have liked to have seen them get some sort of moment, as we didn't spend enough time with them to really kind of give a fuck.
No,
you know?
in a regular horror movie, they would be prime for
like, you know, like, you're the first to go.
Exactly,
you know?
like, you're the one that brought this here. Now, we had brought this up, or, like, we had kind of discussed this. This really gave me a lot of the vibes of Long Time Dead.
It's exactly, the only difference is it's a hand, not a Ouija board.
I don't feel like that movie gets brought up at all. I don't think I've ever seen that really discussed in horror circles.
We will do it on the pod one day.
I really like it. It was one that I was definitely not allowed to watch as a kid, which, again, always, like, mystifies a movie for me, where I'm like, why? Like, what's so bad about this one that I can't see it?
Yeah.
The cover always intrigued
like those eyes.
out of me. The eyes where they're like a slit. They're like cat eyes. And it's kind of this premise, but I think everybody kind of gets it in the end.
Yeah.
It's because they do it at, like, a rave. They're like in a warehouse or something like that, and they do it in, like, a separate room, and then the whole thing goes off. It's like a more, like, outrightly demonic thing versus this is kind of spirits. But also, we get debates on whether or not this hand is... We're told it's an embalmed hand of either a medium or a Satanist, and I'm glad they don't specify either way, because I think...
I would have rolled my eyes at Satanist.
Because Satanism is so overplayed.
Yeah.
It's so cheesy, and also that's not kind of what Satanism is about.
Yeah. Like, that's actually another thing, is Satanists... like, when I say Satanists, I mean, like practicing religious Satanists. Like, they get such a bad rap for things that are, like, quite clearly, they are about freedom of expression, free love,
closer to Buddhism than anything.
Yes, exactly. And, like, just because it has Satan attached to it because of the philosophies that are behind like Lucifer and
They think
all of
that
that.
it's like sacrificing chickens to like the
Yeah,
devil. It's
and
like
their
you're kinda
babies
just
are
doing, like,
marked with
Baphomet
pentagrams
stuff.
and shit.
Yeah.
Like that, none of that shit fucking. That's all Catholicism and Christianity forcing that upon.
That's their idea of the devil.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like look up Anton LaVey if you want to know like what Satanism actually is.
So like the hand, like it's covered in like scratches and writing from all of its previous like partygoers and
It
victims
looks
and
like the
things
toilet
like that.
and fibbers.
Yeah, it does. It's, as you said, like it's rumored to be the hand of a dead medium or quote unquote Satanist. So the rules are: you light a candle to open the door to the world of the dead.
Yeah.
Second, place your hand upon it and say, "Talk to me."
Talk to me.
Thirdly, once the spirit has shown up, you will say, "I let you in."
Yeah.
And then a fourth and final thing: once 90 seconds are up, blow out the candle and release your grip from the hand. And that was like from the actual synopsis from the film. So I'm actually just quoting what the script says.
And we get that like stated explicitly in the movie.
Like the reason why the teens do this is because it creates a euphoric sense of emptiness and peace because somebody else is in the driver's seat. Again, this mirrors
It feels
addiction.
like you're glowing.
It just like this is obviously like a very clear mirror of addiction. Like the more the hand is being used. I mean, like that whole like I want to say like 2-minute sequence of every single person like overusing the hand in that second party scene. It's like it's so obvious what you're trying to convey.
Every time he does it, he just goes
hilarious.
Completely 90 degrees.
Whatever
on the edge.
spirit was inhabiting it was like, oh, you a shady bitch. Like, what is
You
that?
make his dick sob. Or you make him sob, you ugly bitch.
I thought that was going in one direction.
That was a gay ghost.
I was like, oh, is that's the spirit of some queen that was
I've
straight up just be
seen-
like, I'm gonna be shady today. What? So the first initial possession scene possibly has the best jump scare for me.
Oh, it made Emma literally jump up out of her seat.
So when I was sitting with Bola, and for context, like when Mia first touches I call it the conduit because the embalmed
It is,
hand,
it's
it's a
literally a
conduit.
conduit,
She sees an old man and he is terrifying. And Bola practically threw the popcorn at the people behind us in the cinema.
We don't see him for all that long. We see him for
Oh no,
a
it's like a
second.
blink. It's a
Because-
blink and you'll miss it.
Because she goes out of it and
Yeah.
then goes back into it. Because she doesn't say, like, I let you in. This is just when she first sees the first spirit.
Yeah.
And then she goes back into it again. And then she
It's
gets
a different
that, like,
spirit. It's a
like,
bloated,
that, like,
waterlogged
gooey
corpse.
monster thing.
Yeah.
With, like, eyes, like, looking in different directions and
Yeah,
stuff. It was
yeah.
really cool.
I love the idea that even the spirit, because the shot lingered on the spirit for a second, and the spirit was doing this thing where she was like sort of like looking around as if like the spirit didn't know where she was.
It's because we kind of also get that at the end as well.
Yeah.
You get the idea that the spirit is like, because we see it in that like you're having like a one-on-one face-to-face meeting with the spirit, but from kind of the outside looking in, the spirit is kind of in you.
Yes.
The spirit is kind of like feeling Mia's face and kind of being like, oh
She
shit, like,
also
what's
does this really interesting thing where Chris Alossio's character, the older
where
guy,
he like is like behind her. I
Yeah.
thought that was going to be a scare for the trailer.
she does this thing, so like it's mirroring the spirit, so the spirit's eye is like super engorged, and Mia does this thing where she tries to do this with her eye and she starts pulling at it. This leads me to believe that the scene later on where Riley's character starts to try and gouge out his own eye is the exact same spirit, because my guess is what happens is we did get Mia's mother for that first 50 seconds, and then after that spirit had co-inhabited the body of Riley, and then was just like, fuck this.
Because she's not there.
Yeah.
She's not there when we see the torture scene.
Yeah. So I really, really do appreciate the tone that was set after that jump scare, because it became rather tame, shall I say, after that. And that's not in a bad sense. It was just sort of like there weren't any more jump scares after that.
It never kind of reached that level
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
And it's excellent because it creates a sense of dread. It was like, am I going to see a spirit just standing in the corner now? Like, what does that mean for the rest of the film? And it creates that sense of dread, which, you know, for an A24 movie, I want.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it's weird. They set up a certain set of rules that are very kind of fast and loose. Because Mia also goes over by a couple of seconds.
Yes.
Again, they state that it has to be 90 seconds. Because they also say if you die, the spirits are in you forever.
Yeah.
But I don't really know how they would know that. Like, how would they get that information?
Yeah. It's sort of hinted at that, like, all of these rules have been sort of gathered over time from person to person
through
to person.
trial and error.
Yeah, like that kind of thing, you know?
Which is really fucked up. That's what I'm saying. It implies a lot of really scary shit.
Yeah.
Which I kind of borderline like, because I'm like, if you can't show it to me really well, drop me a couple of little breadcrumbs and let me put the rest together in my head.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because, like, it also, like, tells me about the fate that the writers had with the audience.
They trust us.
Yeah, whereas, like, some horror films straight up just, like, spell it out ABC.
Here it is, and I'm telling you, and I'm showing you, and I'm going to explicitly say what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to explain.
I'm going to turn to you on the camera screen and tell you, this is A, this is C, we need to get to D.
And this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, on one hand, I'm like, if you can show it to me and it looks spectacular, I think that's a quote that Stephen King said to John Carpenter when he was making The Thing, where he was like, the thing with horror movies is you never show the devil or you never show the monster, but if you can come up with something super spectacular, then you show it. You know, so I'm like, if you can't really deliver it, then just infer it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the monster you make up in your mind is always they can deliver.
Exactly. And that's actually something that Bola was saying. She's like, everything that was going on, like, I was always making it up in my head. And that's what Hitchcock did for Psycho. It's like, you never actually see an actual stab wound.
It's
you
that bomb
see...
quote. For Hitchcock's bomb quote, where you can tell somebody there's a bomb under the desk that's going to go off in 5 minutes, or you can tell somebody there's a bomb under the desk and you don't tell them when it's going to go off, and then you have people for 2 hours. Yeah, you know.
So it's just good. Like I like that. I want to be unsettled. I want to be creeped out. Mia ends up holding the hand longer and then spits out these ominous threats at Riley.
Directly at Riley. It's
Who
really
like
creepy.
who asked to come along, and like this is one of those things where I also look at him as a very what's her name from Hereditary? Charlie, like
He's
a very Charlie
innocent.
character. He's an innocent. He does not know what he's looking at. He doesn't understand what's going on.
This is what unsettled me
But
most
he's
as a
also
character.
he's different to Charlie in a way where like he is comfortable around these guys anyway because he's not annoying. He's not
and he kind of
anything like
wants
that.
to be cool.
Yeah.
He wants
And,
to be like. There's always that desire when you're about that age that you want to hang out with the older kids.
Yeah.
Now this made me very uncomfortable because like the idea of bringing like Oliver or something to a party, I would feel so uncomfortable with it. Just because it's like I don't want you like exposed to stuff, or I don't want to be the one to like do that to you or whatever, you know. And then even later with what happens, that made me really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, it's terrifying. She progressively becomes worse in that scene where she just, like, I think she just ends up shouting kill at him, like, over and over and over again.
Is that what she was shouting?
I think she said something that was like, we like you, and then directly staring at it, and then she just does this thing where she flops over to one side and she keeps shouting kill or die, or she says either kill or die over and over and over again, but only looking at him. Yeah. And it becomes increasingly terrifying.
That's and they strap you down for it.
Yeah.
I think through trial and error, stuff like what happened to Riley has happened before. Or maybe somebody has like attacked somebody or something like that. Because they're like, no, it has to be tight. Like they have to keep you secure to the thing. So then like the next... Actually, no, just after this. We get Miranda Otto. She's the
Eowyn,
the
the white lady of the Riddermark. Oh my fucking god.
She's hilarious in this movie.
Completely forgot that she was in this film.
Yeah.
And then when she showed up, I was like, Bola, that's Eowyn!
Well, because she's not in any of the trailers.
She's not, no. She's actually hidden from it at all. She is...
I'd say she's the biggest star in the movie.
Hilarious.
She's the most well-known person in the movie.
So she plays Riley and Jade, Jade's mother. Jade is Mia's best friend.
I thought Riley was actually her younger brother for a minute. Like, at the start. Because of how they interact. And because of... She actually goes to pick him up. Because Jade had forgotten. And I really like this little interaction as well. I always love like a sibling type relationship in movies. I always find that really like relatable and kind of endearing. But him and his little friend are like they're not even smoking. They just have cigarettes.
Yeah.
You know, also this is such a hustle that like used to happen when we were younger. Was
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
You would buy cigarettes, you
And
would
then
sell
sell
them
them
all
off.
for €1.
Yeah.
Because they used to be like £6. You'd buy a box of smokes, sell them all off for €1, buy 2 more boxes, keep the profit, and just keep doing that.
Yeah.
You know?
It was great. I loved it.
Because they literally are like, they just light it, but they light it like an incense. They
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
even smoke it, you know?
But Sue obviously is their mother. She's fucking excellent.
She's so funny.
She's hilarious as their mom and Mia's adoptive mother, I want to say. There's this whole scene where Sue goes around asking about the party that's happening tonight.
I do love it because there genuinely isn't supposed to be a party though.
She tells Riley's friend he smells, David, that her daughter's vagina Daniel, that her daughter's vagina is off limits, and that if Mia is lying, she'll ban her from the house forever.
Are you getting stoned again?
She is utterly hilarious.
I smoked weed once.
And she's very endearing. She's very endearing.
She
in
is,
case you
she's
don't
kind
know,
of, she's ruling the house with a soft glove.
yeah. And like even when she likes, it's like, you're stinking out again. And she
Yeah.
goes, no, I'm not. I'm going to bed. She's like, you only ever ask me,
She's
am
like,
I going to
Daniel
bed
is
when you're
super
stinking
Christian.
out?
She's like, she's still got a dick. You know? That's the thing. It's like, she's not like, don't sneak out. She's just like,
Make sure to lock
I
the door.
know you're sneaking out.
Yeah, she goes, lock the door. She goes, I'm going to bed. Lock the door.
Were you ever a sneaker outer?
I've only ever snuck out 2 or 3 times when I was very young.
Like 6. Going to rapes.
600. But yeah, it was a good time. And like,
I was never a sneaker outer. I was always a sneak back inner. Like I would stay out and then sneak back in.
She
the
even
idea
makes
of
the thing
sneaking
out of
was
it
scary.
saying like her daughter is a bad liar too. She's like,
She literally
I know,
is.
I know you're sneaking out. Like,
Because then as soon as she leaves the room, Mia comes up and she's like, are we sneaking out now?
yeah.
Hear her. Like, it's literally right. I love their bathroom, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It kind of gave me like a pool changing area kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It's tile all over and then it just leads straight out into the hall. It was cool. There's
So-
no door on it though.
Yeah,
It
just a little strange.
It's just around a corner. That's weird. I love this house as well, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's great. The whole front of it is glass.
I love
it.
For some reason, like Australian architecture, I really, really like because for at least from what I've seen when I was over there, a lot of the houses are like raised up off the ground.
Yeah.
like for like flooding reasons and stuff. But I love this kind of weird, like different levels. It's like borderline kind of 60s. It actually kind of gave me the same vibes as the house in Assassination Nation, where it's like all kind of open plan, different rooms at different levels. There's like step downs into areas and stuff. I love it. Like big like conversation pits kind of.
Yeah.
It's like very 60s.
Well,
Fate.
so the other thing, which is slightly more serious and known as me, also has to deal with loneliness and isolation that comes with her mother's death.
Which is shocking to me. I didn't know that was going to be a thing.
Yeah, like she can't bring herself to be around her dad, as most of the time she can't look at him, she can't speak with him.
It makes me sad for the dad as well.
Yeah, like she quite literally ignores his calls and messages, and
Every
literally
time. She just hangs up, though.
Yeah. She literally turns her back and closes the door on him when he's around.
Well, it's the first thing we're introduced to him is when she goes home it's just before she gets, because when we're first introduced to her, she's at a remembrance for her mom because it's her 2nd year anniversary.
Yeah.
And it's like weird, awkward conversations with relatives where they're kind of,
What are you doing after college?
and they're kind of just making conversation to make conversation.
Yeah,
And she's
yeah.
like, I just needed a minute. So when we're back at her house with her dad, again, she's not looking at him. She's just doing the dishes. And
She
she's
does the
just
thing
kind
that
of-
I do, which is like turn off the sink and then go back to conversation.
Yeah,
then
but you
turn it
make a
back
whole
on.
like production
Yeah,
of it.
yeah,
where it's
yeah,
just like,
exactly.
what?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Again, you feel bad for the dad because it's like he also lost his wife.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, because I don't think he killed her. I think she's like weirdly blaming it on the dad.
Yeah, there's this, you get this sense that she either thinks her dad is somehow in a way responsible for what happened to her mother, or at least in part a factor that led
Like he's
to what
involved
had
in
happened
some way.
in some way. Yeah, she literally stays with her friends all day and sleeps there most of the time, and when at home she locks him out mentally and physically.
Because it's as soon as she gets the call from her friend, her whole demeanor changes. And she's just like, what's up? Or no, she gets a call from Riley. and goes to pick him up. But as soon as that happens, her whole thing changes, but while her dad is still there. So it's like showing him very explicitly, I'm treating you this way.
And I'm not treating...
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is how... I'm not just like this with everybody.
Yeah.
Which, again, is really sad. Like, for some reason, I feel like in most movies, the parent is... They would make the dad somewhat villainous. But it's actually really sad.
Yeah.
But also, I thought her dad was Australian, and then he's just outrightly American later.
I thought he was British at some point.
To the point where I was kind of like, oh, why is he American all of a sudden? I feel like that changed.
So, like, I really wanted to talk about this scene because, like, we sort of, like, hinted at it earlier, but when all the gang are convinced to go and try out the hand again, this is where it all turns sinister. This is...
The second time.
Yeah. So this is, like, the game picks up again, and the naive teens... Yeah, like, they're, like, ready to, like, mess with death again. And you know, Daniel ends up being possessed by a really petty spirit that tells Jade, his current girlfriend, that he can't get hard for her, and he can very clearly only get hard for Mia, and then proceeds to grind on the floor. Yeah, because they're breastfed.
Yeah.
And then he proceeds to grind on the floor and masturbate and make out with the family dog.
It's so gross.
He's like covered in slobber and hair.
Gooey.
Yeah.
Like it looks like Vaseline.
You know what that's like. You made out with your dogs.
No, I've just made out with people. It's very good.
Very hairy people.
No, it's because it's like gooey or something. Like it's like it looks like there's like Vaseline or something all over his face. It's not just like wet and slobbery. It's like.
But he straight up comes to when they force the hand off him, and he's
like delete the video because everybody has it on video.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair,
they
would never do that. They would never delete that. And but like also, I would never expect people to.
Yeah.
Like if I got fucked up at a party and was like passed out and a dog was licking my mouth or whatever like that, it'd be like, okay, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Do it again. But also, this dog is so cute. It's like this big fat bulldog, like this little British bulldog.
And you can't. No one can decide whether he's the one that smells or the other. Or the
friends.
Yeah.
Oh, that little friend also has like a sick little mullet.
Oh, he's great on it.
And it's an Australian.
I was just about to say that. I was like, is it specific because it's Australian?
It's an Australian.
Yeah.
But then, like when they go to do it again, because Daniel is convinced to do it again.
Yeah.
And, like in the middle of the montage, he's like, fine, because everybody does it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But before they start doing it again, they just bring the dog outside the room.
Yeah.
But the poor dog is fully just like, what are you guys doing in there? Yeah. Like the dog wants to try as well.
So this is where that scene, like during that whole time, I was looking at it going like, this just like straight up, like the way the kids are reacting to this is like, oh my god, this is so fun, like it feels great, blah blah, but you're quite literally messing with the dead.
Yeah.
And like that was in the back of my head the whole time I was watching that scene. I was like, I couldn't, I mean obviously like these fucking like Gen Zs or whatever are like straight up looking at this thing going like, you and I are both looking at it going like, we wouldn't want to fuck with that like that. Are you joking me? And then, don't you dare. Don't you fucking dare. Don't say it.
No, it's the whole thing. No, not if it was, like, to the dead. But that's the thing. Like, when it comes to, like yolks or, like, MD and stuff, it's like, if you ever want to be convinced to not do that, just look at somebody on yolks.
Yeah.
Like, again, like, it probably feels great. But then when you're, like, looking at people on it, it's like, holy shit. Like, you look like a zombie.
So, like, when Riley...
Don't do yolks.
When Riley wants to have a go, like, everybody wants to tell him not to do it, which, in my opinion, is 14. So hypocritical.
He's 14, though.
But they're, like, literally, like, what, maybe 3-4 years older than him?
I think it makes a big difference, though. I think the difference between 18 and 14 is massive when it comes to, like, fucking with drugs and stuff.
Yeah,
also,
but I suppose
everybody
fucking with the dead is totally fine though.
No, but also, like, everybody at that age is, because they're kind of more responsible for themselves. They're not like, they're responsible for him. Yeah. So it's like kind of okay if they're doing it for themselves, but because he's like a child, this scene made me really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because of how young he is, because that is the age where most people. Because it starts with the cigarettes. People always say, like, weed is a gateway drug. And it's like, no, generally it's like alcohol or cigarettes. And then you progress from there.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it made me super uncomfortable again because I have siblings that are kind of this age.
That age,
and
yeah.
it's the idea of them like starting to experiment with stuff really freaks me out. You know, so seeing this happen,
It's uncomfortable.
I was just like, don't let him do it. Like, just don't let him do it.
So
'Cause
this
Jade
is-
doesn't let him do it.
Yeah,
And
Jade
she
is
leaves
straight
the
up
room.
no.
And they treat her like an asshole for not letting him do it. It's like, no, why would she let him do it? And they're smoking in our house and stuff. I'm like,
Straight
stop,
up.
dude.
Also, you want
And
to
she
just
licks it
flicks
and
the
then
cigarette?
flicks it away.
Like, what the
We
fuck?
have carpet in the house. Are you serious?
So, like, this
Little
is...
bargain.
Like, they tell him he can do it for, like, 50 rather than 90 seconds. But this is, like... this is the moment, I think I even said that to you, like, yesterday. Like, this is the moment where things go from bad to worse.
Well, Emma turns to me and we both were like, he's going to die. Like, this is going to be the turning point.
Yeah.
Where it starts to become a horror movie.
So, this is what Tolkien, who, if you don't know, is the guy who wrote The Lord of the Rings. This is...
If you don't know, if you haven't heard of him, little known
So-
author.
he famously called this the catastrophe, which is a sudden turn from bad to total fucking shitstorm. I always think of moments like this as this is the one time.
It's the point of no return.
Yeah. And it's an irreversible, no turning back moment, and I was right.
Yeah.
When Riley is possessed by Mia's mother, it's genuinely heartbreaking because, like, when like Mia immediately knows it's her mother, and
You partially don't even blame her.
Yeah.
But then also, the conduit is a child.
yeah,
And a
so
child that you're responsible for and know very well. It's fucked up.
I knew it was going to be Mia's mother when Riley was like, no. Like, just looking at the person immediately started crying. He was like, no,
This
I'm
kid
not.
acted his
So
fucking ass
good.
off.
Fantastic
'Cause
actor.
It's not that you just have to act like... Because we were kind of going into this knowing it might be somewhat of a possession movie. And to be honest...
Very interesting take on possession
it
as well.
because the idea of possession movie kind of had me a little bit like...
Oh, it's overdone. Yeah.
But it's not... It's a conduit movie.
Yeah.
So because it's like you have to... Because I assume this kid is probably the age he's playing. About 14, 15. So to be able to, like, turn that on...
Yeah.
And not be all like... Not just go for the obvious
Yeah.
way of acting. I really enjoyed
It was very subtle.
Yeah.
It was very...
Because he just cries. He, like, turns it on command as
Like,
well. He
yeah,
does very
straight up, he
well.
was like, you could, like, I could imagine the ghost that's behind him doing the exact same. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't need to see
Like puppeting it,
Mia's
kind of.
mother
Yeah.
doing it to know exactly what she's like. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it was genuinely so heartbreaking just to see that. And she's like on her knees, like trying to hold Riley's
Because
hand.
the first thing she says is, Mom. Like,
Yeah.
she knows it's her straight
Yeah,
away.
and she's like, I'm so sorry, I'm so proud of you, all of these types of things. And you know immediately, like, at least for that 50-second window, that was Mia's mother.
I feel knowing if I was her, thank God I'm not, touch wood, because paper is wood, I feel like that might be enough for me, though. I don't feel like I would, like, push past that, especially in this
Kind of
circumstance.
scenario, yeah.
Like, if I knew that was a possibility, I might try and figure out another way to do it, but not in this now, because they push Riley well past 2 minutes, which
Yeah.
is like, oh God. But also, I turned to Emma because they don't explicitly show this, and when it all starts to go down, I'm like, they didn't blow out that candle.
Yeah.
So I think, like, that's why this happens to him. It's not just like a fluke once off. Is they didn't obey the rules, or they went past what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, things turned very sour, and I am a firm believer that when he cocks his head back, again, that's another spirit inhabiting
Oh, yeah,
him.
definitely.
Something else took over, and, like, he bashes his head over and over again until he splits his
I
head
thought he was
open.
going to die.
I really did, like, and then he tries, like, this is why I thought that the spirit who was there earlier and why Mia was doing this at her possession, this is the same spirit.
I thought it came out. I thought he...
I
armed
saw
himself.
like the eyeball starting to bulge out of the
'Cause,
socket.
yeah, you saw the bottom
he
of
had
the white
one,
come out.
Like, he had one finger like firmly planted under
I
his
thought
eye.
it came out.
Yeah.
Because for the rest of the movie, he's got like
His-
a big
yeah.
like, and even at the end, we don't see whether or not he still has that eye.
Yeah.
Because the whole time it's just welled up. this scene really made me feel weird and uncomfortable in kind of a similar way to like Georgie being attacked in. It's just that idea of like a younger person,
14-year-old.
Yeah,
this is happening
and
to them.
somebody that you're kind of somebody that you're supposed to be responsible for as well. It's just it actually also gave me like the same feeling as Hereditary, where I was just like, oh God, you were supposed to protect them.
And again, it's not gory, it's just extremely visceral.
It's like they don't show like...
Yeah, they don't show his head like
blood
cracking in half. They just show a lot of blood.
Yeah.
And I want to say it's his thumb, because he was doing this
he
and it
goes
was
like
like
that, and
literally
they're all trying to
getting...
stop
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
It's just,
and then
it's really
he like...
intense.
I think there was one moment where Jade comes back in and she sees that one more bang and he's going to split his head right open.
And he like breaks her hand.
And yeah, he like cracks her fingers like with the smash. And
I
like,
think
oh
that
my God.
if she hadn't been in the room, he would have died there.
Oh, he would have died then and then, yeah.
Oh, because again, the implication of it is that the spirits were trying to kill him to keep him forever, which is so scary. Because it's a child.
Yeah. It's like there's a
we're
certain
at the age
life.
now where somebody that's 14 or 15 is a child. Yeah.
So I also look at it. The camera work in this one scene is phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal. So like even like the scenes during like the sort of like the getting high moment of the rest of the kids using the hand. It's a party sequence. But the camera does this thing with Daniel where he flips the camera to one side and then all the way over to the other, and they do the same.
They flip back the camera.
The camera flips over.
Degrees.
It's gorgeous. The tracking shots in the scene alone are brilliant.
Yeah.
Like the music also. The music is very subtle in a sense that it gives us sort of like this bass line to everything, every scene.
Yeah, like you can
and
feel
then
it.
like apart from maybe one or two like sort of songs that are sort of input throughout the film and things like that. But there's sort of like this weird kind of like like sort of thing that kind of happens, very low bass line that you're just like, oh shit, something's about to happen. You know what I'm saying?
And during this, again, the audience was very reactionary. And I don't know, I just always think that adds, like I think horror movies makes for such a good group experience.
Yeah.
Just because people were straight up like, oh my god, like people were like viscerally affected by this. It really adds a whole level. Now, did you notice people kind of like around in the cinema?
Yeah, I did.
Because I couldn't actually tell if it was in the movie or because it happened during scary scenes.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this in the movie or is this? Because there was times where, again, cinema, like good surround sound, I couldn't tell if it was somebody talking at the back of the cinema or if it was like the sound was mixed that way.
Yeah.
Now, like usually we would kind of say that that's annoying, like because if people are talking, but because it only happened during scary scenes, I think it really added more for me because it sounded like there was either really people in the cinema or like just good sound mix. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Now, again, I love going to see a horror movie with Emma because she's so reactionary.
Yeah.
Like, she will jump. She will freak out. There was a couple of moments in this where I couldn't... It was like an involuntary response where I was just like, oh! Like, oh! You know? It's where she slaps herself near the end.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh!
But I definitely think there was a few good moments in that. I'm going to put in a little 5-minute snippet here because another viewer came with us first time.
to hear the sounds of buses.
So Bola Tito Adewumi, you're awesome. I'm going to stick you in here because we're coming up to the hour mark.
Yeah, she's a good time gal.
She's a good time gal. She's my gal. And she's going to give you her quick 5-minute opinion of the movie. All right. So, out of 10, what would you give the movie, Bola?
8.
Why would you give it an 8? And you don't have to dissect the movie. You can just tell me something.
Well, I was expecting more from the movie. Like, not more in the sense that I didn't satisfy by, like, the reason why I went for the movie, but it was just that I was left for, like, you know, the test for more, you know, like, you didn't want the movie to end. That kind of more was, like... I just felt like I had so many unanswered questions, but I also feel like that was part of the thought process of the movie, like to leave those open-ended questions so that people can go home and have a conversation about the movie.
Which we did.
Yeah. Yeah, and it wasn't as scary as I thought, but like I was so as a very very big advocate of non-horror movies, I was jumpy based on my expectation of what was about to happen, not from what actually happened. So I had like this unrealistic
Expectation.
exaggerated reactions on stuff that actually weren't that scary, but it was just because I was expecting more from that from the action. Well, yeah, my imagination was like running wilder than it was supposed to.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because a funny thing about that is, you know, Alfred Hitchcock, the guy who directed Psycho and The Birds and all of that.
The Bird Box.
You know, the dun, dun, dun,
I don't watch
dun.
horror movies.
No?
So.
So there's this famous film called Psycho, and famously Alfred Hitchcock has a murderer commit a lot of murders in the film as jump scares. And a lot of the times when you see the murderer actually going to stab or attack or anything like that, you see flashes of, let's say, the knife and the person's reaction, but you don't actually see actual
Contact.
penetrating flesh or anything like that. And your brain puts the image together in your head and it makes you think you saw it when you didn't. So it's funny you should mention that because it's the exact same for me, you know.
Yeah. Like it was a good movie. It was one of the movie that you don't know I was going to end until it ended. Like I like the fact that it kept wondering what's going to come next. Like I'm the kind of person that usually I feel like I've watched so much movie where I can actually tell you where the movie is going or the third direction. I like a really nice like plot twist, and I knew there was a plot twist coming, but I didn't know what it was going to be. Yeah, so but I just wish like they just gave us a last scene that just like tied everything together in a bit and just like and then you have that aha moment, not the what happened moment, you know. Yeah.
If you had to pick, and you can talk spoilers, that's fine. If you had to pick a scene that you thought was, shall we say, not your favorite, but something that like definitely caught your attention.
Caught my attention in the sense that I think
it's memorable. The moment is memorable.
I think it was the part where she stabbed her dad. Like I kind of wasn't expecting that, but also it was just like, what's going on, that kind of thing. And then it was a question of she was seeing stuff that wasn't there, but at the point it felt like it was there, and then it turned out to be not there, and then she then stabbed the person, like she stabbed the dad, you know. Like so it was like, oh, that's not your dad.
It's like she was hallucinating her dad as sort of like ghostly or demonic.
And then it was like there was no one there, and then the dad showed up and she stabbed
and then she
the
didn't
dad.
trust him.
And then like after she stabbed the dad, I was expecting her to come off whatever she was, like the way whatever trance she was, but she just like literally just, anyways, her mom told her not to trust the dad, so that could be the reason why she left him there to die. But then it was like, did he actually die? Did she actually stab him? Like those are the questions that like still there.
Wow, thank you for your insight.
Usually when I'm being recorded, I get paid.
Well, you can cash a check at the door.
Closer to him. And then at first I was kind of like, is she going to do some rapey stuff? But then it does end up kind of being innocent at first, because she's just kind of...
She's longing for closeness. Because she doesn't have it with anybody. She touches her foot
off his head, and she's not even holding onto his leg.
She just gets her
physically
elbow against him.
She's just kind of... There's a thing called being like touch starved, where it's like you don't have like physical intimacy with anybody. Like you don't hug anybody or something. So I kind of got that she was kind of just like needing to be close to somebody, not even necessarily physically, just she needed closeness from somebody.
And emotional support.
But then she started kind of creeping in closer, and I was like, oh my god, she's going to suck his dick in his sleep. Or something. Because I thought that was kind of where it was going. Because it was kind of set up as a horror scene, like, leading into it. And then we got this, like, one of the more outrightly horror scenes in the movie, where we got this, like, thing. It's the same
ghost that appears firstly, where and this is like a theory that's been running around on the internet, is this is the malevolent spirit that is following Mia around whenever her mother is there, because she
like
progressively becomes more and more wet and bloated. Her eye starts bulging out. All of these types of things. And this
she looks like the Pit Witch
ghost,
from Army of Darkness.
She straight up like crawls out of, I think it's the closet or something like that, and towards
out of like the blackness.
Yeah,
we see just like kind of a shape,
like a fucking spider or something.
That's a very good descriptor, because the way she kind of like contorts out, and then she just springs forward at Mia, or no, she springs forward on Daniel, and she starts sucking his foot.
I thought she was going to, because she was screaming for Daniel, I thought the malevolent spirit was going to stop and go for her, but straight up she just wanted Daniel's foot.
And it's weird at this point.
Have we got another Quentin Tarantino going on?
I was kind of there's this thing of Quentin Tarantino like went to go see Barbie, but then there was like a thing of like a screenshot of him like in the Barbie movie where he's like this, because you see Margot Robbie's foot a lot. The Barbie movie is so good, guys. I'm not lying. But at this point, I kind of was like, oh god, are they going to make her like crazy now? Because there was like in a movie where it
turns
like,
on them.
Exactly. I was like, oh god, please don't do this. And it doesn't, thankfully. Or at least not in the way I was thinking it was going to. Because that always kind of does my head in a movie. Partially because it's frustrating from a viewer point of view. Because it's like, just believe them. But then on the
especially
other hand,
after...
like, I think it's kind of done.
Especially after what they've witnessed right up until that point.
Like, they all have
They
seen
fucking
spirits.
know these ghosts and spirits and shit exist. Why are you suddenly not believing the person that, like, is telling you this ghost was doing this to you?
Like, if I was her,
you literally watched me get possessed by someone, and now you're telling me, oh, it's me, I'm just fucked up and I wanted to suck your toes?
You got possessed by somebody.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Exactly.
You literally made out with a fucking dog.
That's why I think...
Fuck you.
I think he should have... I understand why he was creeped out, because he woke up to Mia, then, like... fucking
but you were also making out with a dog, bro.
Gummy, like,
fuck you. You were literally masturbating and grinding up on the carpet, bro. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, which is why I thought it was weird.
Unsupportive little dick.
I did find it weird.
Where's your Christianity? He's a Christian.
Allegedly. I did find it weird that everybody suddenly turned on her, because I'm like, exactly like what you're saying. You know what the fuck we just did. Like, we were all there for it. I don't even know why Jade was... Well, no, I actually don't understand, because Jade didn't want Riley to do it, and she let her do it. Or she let him do it. Like, she wasn't pissed because she thought there was drugs involved.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's Sue's issue. But I think he shouldn't have been so quick to be like...
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Instead of just being like, okay, what the fuck just happened? You know?
Well...
And he's kind of just gone from the movie.
Yeah, he just disappears until I think it's like literally one of the last scenes where they all gather together again, like Avengers style. So Jade witnesses a worser turn in Riley when he is a worse turn in Riley. I didn't say worser. Worcestershire.
1 minute and 7 seconds, I'll see.
1 minute and 7 seconds. That's 1 hour and 7 minutes, you mumpty.
Well, that makes two of us.
Fuck off. So when he's comatose and suddenly starts to smash his head against the wall of the bathroom in the hospital, right?
People were freaking out at this.
Laughing as he does it. Like, that's just... And then starts licking the blood from, like, the drain. Oh, God.
There's just something about a wet drain that's so creepy.
It's at this point that Jade, like, out of, like, fear, frustration, anger,
I had to show you what a hand was, apparently.
Yeah, like she lays out all of her grievances with Mia because she comes back just after this.
I hate that you've pushed yourself into my life.
But that's exactly it. Like she, what is it like about her? Like quite literally, like latching onto her family.
But I'm like, God, because it's weird. She gets along better with Sue and Riley than she does Jade. Because even when she drops Riley home, she's like, God, do you always come over uninvited? And it's like, don't do that to your friend. And if you know she's going through some shit. Yeah, it might be annoying, but like, she's your friend. Don't be a bitch.
Yeah, it's so she does
set a boundary and don't just be an asshole about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Like she does say that like the love and care and support that the family gave her was not reciprocated from Mia. So Mia never gave anything back. She just sort of latched onto the family. Yeah. And that's why like Sue, who is played by Miranda Otto,
love her.
She's fucking awesome.
I am no man or whatever. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not a bro, dude.
You know the funny thing behind that story is when the Witch King was cursed, right? That was part of his doom prophecy, like how he was supposed to die. He knew he was going to die, but he said he would. The prophecy says that he would not die by the hand of man. And quite literally, that's the prophecy.
I love that.
So,
I love when you nerd out about
thou fool! No living man can kill me. That's
Gag
from
with a spoon with Saruman.
That's why like Sue refers to Mia as like her adoptive daughter and things like that.
She's like, he's not your friend, he's your family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like that, it just like
because she even treats her differently than she treats her own kids. Like, better almost. Like when she comes in, she's like, Riley, get your shit off the table.
Yeah.
And she's just talking to Mia.
Yeah.
Like as like her kid, you know, or like Mia and Sue get on better than Jade and Sue do.
Yeah.
But again, it's just, I feel like that would be like if I heard that from a friend, that would just like crush my soul. Because it's like, aw. Because even if you were intruding, you kind of just made me feel like a piece of shit for it.
Yeah.
You didn't like give me the chance to like
realize,
step back a little bit.
Yeah.
You really just laid my shit out on Front Street in front of everybody as well.
Yeah.
Because this comes up, it's right after the hospital where they go and meet the brother from the beginning on the bus. I don't know why. I thought this was a really cool, interesting set piece. Instead of just talking to him in a room, they got on the bus together. And never been paid.
Interesting set piece, but the problem is you could have left it out of the story and it wouldn't have made a difference.
I don't know.
They didn't garner any new information from that scene.
I do think they did though, because
they didn't.
But it bridged the two things together. It wasn't just a random party here and a random party here. It like showed that like where the hand came from, and
but it didn't progress the plot. It gave backstory, but it didn't progress the plot.
That's all I wanted though. I think that's all it was supposed to be there for.
Do you know what I would have wanted though? Is because after they consult the gang, Mia realizes that they didn't blow out the candle, right?
I knew it. I felt so clever because I turned to Emma and I was like, I fucking said it.
Yeah, and like during Riley's possession, and that they must perform. She comes with the idea that they have to perform the ritual again in order to pull him back out of whatever
I was like,
he's
no,
in.
it's just gonna get so much worse.
Yeah.
It's gonna get so much worse.
So Haley and Joss, who are the ones who initially introduced the hand, Dyke, advised.
She's even holding the hand and like licking between the two front
fingers.
Or like smoking out of it as well.
They basically realized that like they tell her to burn the hand afterwards, like just get fucking rid of it.
I don't know if you could.
Yeah, it's ceramic.
Because it's ceramic.
It might crack, but it won't disintegrate.
But there's an embalmed hand in the middle of it. I wanted to see that happen, though. I wanted to see the hand broke open and see like a skeletonized hand or something. Just because I didn't know whether it was just... Because when we saw it first, the trailer, we thought it was just like a mannequin hand.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, what is this?
Yeah.
Or going into it, we actually thought it was going to be like a monkey's paw kind of situation. Just because of like the obvious symmetry or the obvious imagery of the hand. I thought there was going to be some form of... We never gotten a good Monkey's Hand adaptation.
I want that.
That story used to really freak me out when I was a kid.
Fuck you up, even though you wished for something good.
Or is it Monkey's Paw? Monkey's Hand?
Monkey's Paw, yeah.
Or is it like
It's got like
fingers
3
burn.
fingers and then the other
They're
one,
like,
and
you
then
like
they
the-
just kind of...
Don't you like light the fingers though? Like, the
No,
fingers
I
are like
thought
candles on top.
the fingers just close in.
They do once you make a wish, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm almost fairly certain that the top of the fingers are like Beetlejuice style, like on fire at the top, like a candle. I'm gonna look that up.
So, like, this is the part where they tell him to, like, burn the hand and get rid of it afterwards. They want nothing more to do with it. So this is the moment, this is what I was alluding to earlier. This is the moment that I thought of them as quite literally like a Pontius Pilate type character, where they were like, but you caused this bullshit, and now you're metaphorically washing your hands of it.
They make her
as
the
if
villain.
you think. They make her
Or
the
no,
problem.
it holds a candle. It's not a candle, sorry.
So like it really aggravated me, and I looked at that and I thought, you're literally walking away from the problem that you started. You introduced it.
It's like you're not trying to help Riley, you're trying to absolve yourself.
Exactly.
Of responsibility.
And this is when I had that initial thought process, well, what happens if the hand wanted to fuck them? Or
you know, like
what,
Riley be damned.
like
kind of.
Riley be damned, like what if the ghosts or things came after Haley and Joss after that?
Yeah,
Like,
I really thought it maybe I should have.
See, this is why I
Or at
docked
least
it
Haley.
like to a B. Like, could you have at least given us a scene where the ghosts go after Haley?
Well, see, because
You know?
Haley, Joss to me is like just kind of like a dickhead bro kind
Mm-hmm.
of bro. But I think with Haley, she's kind of antagonistic.
Yeah.
Like she's kind of nefarious. She's borderline like forcing them to do stuff.
Yeah.
Just the way she like presents herself as well. She's an asshole. Like again with the cigarette and like smoking in the house, and even after the fact, she's still just smoking in the house.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought she was kind of an asshole, and again, just being like weirdly antagonistic towards Mia at the start and everything, and even towards Riley as well. It's like shut up, like she brought her younger brother, like whatever. And then like that
To
like,
her own house.
taking the videos
Like, fuck
and
off.
stuff. Because she was the one kind of taking the video.
Yeah.
She's the one that Daniel was asking to delete the video of, and she's like, nah,
Nar.
Um,
But yeah, I do think, like, now they don't warrant any reasons for them to, like, get bumped off or anything like
no,
that.
I thought they should have been.
They should have
fucked
been
with a little
haunted,
bit, though.
fucked with, yeah.
Yeah, because they're the ones that brought it to the group.
Yeah, because I do think, like...
Or they were going to, like, because there was kind of a party house where this thing was happening. It was Joss's house.
Yeah.
Now, I did get the sense that Joss was much older than them anyway. Like, which, again, almost made it creepy, because
Yeah.
it's like, why are you hanging out with a bunch of teenagers?
Yeah.
Tie me up, daddy.
Is he Human Charlie?
Yeah, so we try to think. Give me a couple of seconds, though.
Wow. The next kind of biggest thing is Mia's dad's demise. Well, perceived demise. shall we
I
say.
hated it! I hated
So
it!
we basically get this letter that is from Mia's mother to Mia and Max.
And I understand why he hid it from her.
Yes, because what he wanted to do is he wanted to protect her from
Yeah.
the necessary truth, I guess, because she sort of has this sort of vague understanding of how her mother died, but not conclusive, this is how your mother died.
Because what I find weird is that she thinks that her dad killed her, because...
Yeah, because it's very ambiguous.
But he's on the outside. We get to see... she has a dream about Daniel, and it's her and Daniel. It's actually what leads up into the foot-sucking scene.
Yeah.
It's her and Daniel, not even like making out, just kind of like being intimate and like holding each other and stuff. And then over his shoulder, she can see the day that her mom died. And her dad is on the outside of the door trying to like break it in. And we see this again in the bathroom. She's trying to break the door in, and there's something on the other side. Kind of a correlation. There's something on the other side, kind of. Shut the fuck up. But yeah, I think there's no way that dad could have killed her, because the dad was like distraught. He was like upset about it.
Yeah, and even like when I'm looking at it back now, like conclusive to like actual plot progression or seeing it in any other light, I don't think it would have made a difference, even if it was true, because like it still would have probably ended up the same way anyway.
Because then I was like,
Because
what?
the ghosts
Are you
were
just-
fucking with him.
Like what? It would have been a whole other movie if the dad had murdered the man. It would have made him straight up villainous.
Yeah.
Now I think where they explicitly state that the dad isn't evil is where she has that scene where the mom is telling her that he's going to come in here and hurt you.
Yeah.
You know? But also earlier, she's like, there's something you're not telling me about Mom. So it's like, does she just always suspect that he killed her? You know? Now, there is a scene where she's looking back on her Snapchat memories. So funny. The mom is like, she's like,
badass.
what do you say to the haters?
Yeah,
and she's like,
haters.
you can suck my ass. I thought it was cute, and like their dynamic was adorable. But again, it's kind of showing outwardly that it's like you don't have to look a certain way to be depressed. You know, like you can be outrightly happy and be presenting that to the world and still absolutely want to die on the inside, you know? I, however, look dead on the outside, and I'm fabulous on the inside. It just kind of, I feel like that's as far as it goes in.
Yeah, I don't think
in
there's
dealing
anything
with the depression
deeper.
part.
Yeah. I
Because
think
sometimes depression can just be a happenstance. It doesn't have to be the entire movie.
it's but it does it really well because it leads straight into the demented moment where the mother is just like, that's not your dad on the other side of that door.
That was kind of a turning point where it's like, okay, where's this going to go?
Yeah.
But then they show that her
he's
dad is just sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
But this attack is going on in like the other room.
Yeah.
You know, and he does hear her crying for help. So I'm like, okay, I wonder what his POV was. Because we do, we
He
actually
does
do
see her
that,
just writhing around on
that
the
she's
floor.
just kind of having a fit.
Yeah.
Which is not the same thing as Riley, but like they're being tortured by like an unseen thing. But I think we all knew
Where
what
it
was
was gonna
coming
go.
up when we saw the scissors. And
Yeah.
it was just like, oh god, no!
Yeah. It was one of those things where I was guessing what was about to happen before it happened.
And you can see it happening, but you don't. You kind of don't want it to happen. But he doesn't die.
He doesn't. That is the strangest thing about this film. How the fuck did he end up surviving that?
Because he got stabbed like right in the jugular.
Right in the jugular.
I mean, maybe. I mean, like
right through.
I mean, because he's not pouring blood, which is like
No, but
that would
genuinely
instantly happen though. If like you can kind of pretty much tell straight away if you've hit the jugular,
You're
'cause
dead.
All your blood just comes out and you pass out straight away.
Yeah.
Um,
You don't die from the puncture. You die from the blood loss.
exactly. Did you ever see that video in Adelaide, in Australia, where it's like this kind of like
Wait,
gang
Adelaide's
fight?
in Australia?
No, that's New Zealand. Oh, where the fuck is it? Because my Auntie Lisa actually worked by that train station, where it was. It's like kind of like two crews like having a fight or whatever, and one of them just jabs the guy in the neck, and instantly just like buckets of blood are coming out of like just everywhere, and he's dead. He's on the floor dead in like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like it's just so quickly.
Yeah.
You could just be killed that way, or like if you fell on something the wrong way and it just nicked that artery right there.
Yeah. If your femoral artery is nicked here, you're fucked.
Also happened to Danny in fucking Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
She just nicked that right there. It's not even that deep of an injury, but it's like
If that's
all
caught,
of your blood is just all over the floor. And
you're not going anywhere.
you're
You are
fucked.
dead.
And
yeah.
it's almost instant.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, Jade finds it. Well, I actually did like this reveal at the like where we find out that Mia is not at her house. I thought that was a cool reveal. But later Jade finds the dad and he's just still like help me, bro. You know? I was like, holy shit, you're alive.
She's dangerous.
I was like, oh my god, you're alive.
Yeah,
I
really good.
really did like that reveal though, where Mia calls Jade and she's like, look,
She gets her out of the hospital.
she's like, I think I know how to fix this. It's just
Switcheroo,
come over.
baby.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool kind of scene. So Jade goes to Mia's house, but then as she is leaving the hospital, we see that Mia's actually in the car park. And we're like, that's fucking cool. Like, again, it's not like a major moment or anything, but I like little bait and switches like that in movies. I thought it was pretty cool. Because then she goes up and sees Sue, and Sue is like completely forgiving because she's like, yeah, there was no drugs in the system. Like, I'm sorry. You know? And then you're feeling bad for Sue because it's like, but she's a strange bitch. You know? It's like she also did kind of let your son get possessed, even though he wanted to, but he didn't know. So that's what I'm saying. It's because he's still only like technically a child. It's like that's why I find the difference between 18 and 14 like huge. Not just the statutory law, but seeing the like they don't know what they're bargaining for, which again kind of does go into that whole thing of like why the like age of consent and stuff like that. It's because it's like you don't know what you're consenting to, you know, even though you may want something, you still don't have like the brain capacity to be able to be like,
you don't have all the information.
Exactly. You're not playing with the same pieces as everybody older than you, you know, which is why I find Jade justified in being like, I don't care, you're 14, you're not fucking doing this, you know, because like, yeah, they're all still like young as well, but they're like just that little bit older where it makes sense. They kind of know what they're in for.
Yeah.
You know, but this scene was quite tense because we didn't know where it was going to go.
Yeah. When Mia does the talk to me moment in the hospital, it just, like, that was absolutely revelations.
But she does it like 3 times to him.
It's crazy.
Because she's like, talk to him. And it's like, well, that's not going to work. You know, you can't just do it to somebody. You know, because we saw him getting, she had like a vision or like she saw him getting like kind of like pulled apart by all these other spirits. And
a
it's
la
like
Shaun of the Dead.
It
guy
really
from
freaked
the Winchester
me out,
when he gets pulled apart.
Exactly, very Day of the Dead kind of, where it's literally just him. It's all very vague and kind of flashy and red. It's hell. It's actually kind of, I've seen people say that this is hell. This is the other side. It's our first glimpse to the other side, where he's just being held down and he's screaming and he's just kind of being like pawed at and like mauled by all these spirits. It's really fucking scary. And that's what I mean by it implies a lot of scary stuff.
It reminded me of Event Horizon.
In the flashes of hell.
Like the flashes of hell and things like that. And I just like, it's a very kind of, like, she sees his soul kind of not being torn apart, but like you said, being mauled at and tortured in a way.
So I've seen theories that this is either hell or like limbo.
I was going to say, is like it paints a very kind of bleak and like nihilistic picture of limbo and the afterlife.
Where there's just nothing.
Yeah, because like the dead, regardless of like their virtues or their sins or anything like that, are sort of like just forced to wander a dark realm for eternity.
I always picture limbo as this, but all white.
No, I kind of see it as the like, bleak dark kind of thing.
I feel like they're both very bleak for different reasons. Like with the darkness, you can't see if there's anything, but then with the white, you can see there is nothing. Like it's almost scarier. Or like I can't really decide which is scarier.
It's just never truly finding peace. Like, it only further implies the fact that they, like the living, crave life and life's experiences.
It borderline gave me, like, the further from the first movie.
Because, like, it's sort of...
he's being held in, like, a weird limbo space where he's not quite one place or the other.
Because it made me think of, like, all the interactions that the ghosts had with the group beforehand, which were, like... when Mia was first possessed, she was like grasping at the clothes. She was like laughing insanely. She was doing everything like I want to experience what it is to laugh again, or to look around with living eyes,
to feel and touch
things. And the one who was smoking the thing, to like feel that again. The guy who possessed Daniel to like masturbate and make out, like that was just like. I was looking at it as like that, okay, and you're one sucking Daniel's feet in the bed. Like that just, it makes sense to like some people wanting to experience what life was like again.
She really liked feet, if that's her thing to do when she
when she was like,
give me a foot. Somebody put a foot in my mouth. Yeah.
Because like it made sense to me, like all of a sudden, like if they, because it's like what you said with the fur, that they crave life, they crave life's experiences again.
Yeah.
So like it only further implies how bleak it is.
Yeah. Because at the very last scene, I will save that until we get to the end, because it really was scary.
Yeah, because basically...
It made me feel unsettled.
It doesn't work, so Mia's just like, let me just stab the fuck out of Riley to free him.
Yeah, this is like... so there's like this scene, and then the stabbing scene, or what we think will be the stabbing scene, is right after this. I thought she was going to kill him. But again, it's to make herself feel better, not to save him.
Yeah, so like
her
this
mom
is...
the whole way through keeps being like, I'll take care of him.
Yeah.
and stuff, which we know is like a ploy or a trick.
By whatever malevolent spirit that has taken on the form of Mia's mother.
But sometimes I feel like it is actually her mom, though, because in the scene with the dad at the door, she's like, that's not your father. It's not your father. But also, it isn't. So she is helping her out in some scenes. So, like, we know for sure that her mom is there sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, at least from that first scene with Riley. But then I do think that a lot of the time, or most of the time, it is somebody kind of disguising themselves.
Yeah.
Like, in a way to lure her in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bitch.
But it does. It leads directly into the influence. Like, again, she can't commit to... It's the same kind of, as I was saying, which alludes to the ending of her not being able to kill Riley, just as she couldn't kill the kangaroo because she couldn't... She can't...
This is when we see the kangaroo because it's a joke. Yeah. It's a baby kangaroo.
She can't.
You see the kangaroo in the reflection of a window, which really had our curiosity.
Oh yeah, like when I seen that in the trailer, I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah.
I ended up just looking at it as like, again, she can't commit to following through with these things because it's her not willing to face the grief that comes
like
with
one
it
way
afterwards.
or the other. She's in a purgatory of sorts.
Yeah.
She's just stuck in the suffering part. She can't move on. Or anything.
Yeah.
Now, when Sue comes back up into the room after Jade's like, she's dangerous.
Where the fuck is she?
Mia came and took my baby. Mia took my baby. This scene did make me laugh because Jade goes out of the hospital and she sees Mia with Daniel and with Riley and she's just pushing him up a hill. It's so funny because it's just like a 2-second thing of her like zooming past at this point in a wheelchair, which I don't feel like she would be allowed to do, or I don't feel like she would get away with.
No, because the guy is hooked up to life monitors and things that are quite literally keeping him going.
You can't just take people out of a hospital.
Yeah.
Now, when Sue comes back into the room, she gets a nurse and she's like, "My boy's supposed to be here," and the nurse goes, "Yeah, he should be here. Yeah, he's supposed to be there.
Yeah, but he's not fucking here."
It's like, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of my way. You know? But yeah, this starts to lead up into like the penultimate moment. I don't know. At first I thought she was just gonna, she like brings him down to like a bypass where she's just like, it's like a hill and like a broken fence where she's just, how did she get through that fence?
I'm guessing it was broken at some point. I
know, but Jade has to like crawl through it. I'm like, there's no way you could put a wheelchair on yourself through there. I thought she was just going to wheel him off. But then this part also kind of made me laugh where she's like pushing him down and then she hits like a curb.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Well, yeah, but you can also like force it up and over like that. You can't force it there. You could just continue driving. Yeah, it's true, but like, I'm guessing in the moment, like again, it's one of those things where maybe you're not supposed to overanalyze it. It's the penultimate moment, so maybe you're just not supposed to kind of look at it that way.
I can't help it though with this, where I'm like, because it's like, it's not like a highway where it's like speeding traffic where nobody would notice.
It's an underpass. You're going to
like
come into some lights.
People are just coming out of the hospital somewhere. So it's like, I'm assuming if, again, not to like always like put real life logic on movies, but it's like, this is like a semi-realistic movie. Like there's not like people aren't like floating around and shit like that. People wouldn't just be like, oh, there's a kid in a wheelchair. Yeah, floor it. Keep driving. You know, a little further.
A little further. Zoe the fucking cat.
What do you mean by that, mate? Are you gonna have
you never
that?
call a Kiwi an Aussie. Oh,
I'm so sorry.
What do you mean by that, mate?
But a classic.
One of our ship's mast. Mate, it's a fucking classic.
But so you had a different reading to what happened to Mia in this than I did.
Yeah, so I
just realized I'm starving. Sorry.
So
and I will continue to do so until we get to Italy.
So I sort of read this, and even Bola had a different reading to this as well, where it was very ambiguous as to how, what, or why this happened. Now, obviously, in the chair, Mia was seeing the older man from the first time she saw a ghost, And obviously at the back was
Ghost!
Mia's mother
Yeah.
telling him, like, you can do it, baby, I believe in you, all this kind of thing. So there's that. There's the influence of the ghost, meaning, did she try to push him? Then there's the reading of, did Jake get there on time and push Mia out of the way
that's what
into
you
the
thought.
thing? And then the
Wait, that was
other
your
thing
reading of
is...
it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my last... Do you mind? And then the other reading is Mia decided to throw herself
That's
in
my reading.
instead of Riley.
I took it more literally that way.
So there's loads of ways that you could read that. Either way, no matter what way you read it, Mia is the one that falls in front of traffic and she
dies.
gets bashed right into a windscreen and run over.
Now, this is so scary because if you're going by, like, suicide stuff, if you're going into, like, theology and stuff, you end up in purgatory.
Yes.
If you're, like, unbaptized or if you kill yourself, that kind of way, if you can't be,
You end
like,
up in limbo, yeah.
Exactly, if you can't be, like, sanctified by God or whatever, you end up in purgatory.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, a movie like this, I don't think they don't mean to do this, or at least they haven't said so. It's like, a movie like this implies that it's like, if there's purgatory, that means there's heaven, that means there's hell.
Yeah.
Like, to me, purgatory implies heaven or hell. Because it's that in-between space, a liminal space, if you will. The ultimate liminal space. Because the Flash is weird, because she stands up and she's okay. But then she's walking forward, and as she's walking forward, it suddenly changes to the hospital without a scene break. It's just the background changes. So I was like, the fuck? And now throughout this movie, she's talked about this recurring nightmare that she's had. She talks about it with
It
Riley
comes
at
full
the start.
circle in this moment.
And she sees herself in a mirror and she doesn't see her reflection. Like, she doesn't exist. And she doesn't, because she sees a mirror and she doesn't see herself. And she's in the hospital and she sees all these different avenues, like all the different hallways. And she sees her dad leaving. So we get the sense that this is like... I actually don't know, because her dad is leaving the hospital as if she's just been announced dead and he's going. But then also Riley is fine. Like, he's fully healed up. But as she's, again, kind of stuck between choices and life decisions.
Choices.
As she goes one way starts to get a little darker. And then as she goes that way, this side starts to get a little darker. Until everything is just dark around her. And we see Riley, Jade, and Sue all, like, get up to leave. Like, they're leaving the hospital because he's all healed up. Again, not quite showing that other eye, because we only really see him from kind of one side. So I'm like, did he lose the eye, or like what? Because you can pop out your eye and not lose it.
You can pop out your eye if you try to hold your eyes open when you sneeze.
You saw Sleepy Hollow. Is that what you thought would happen when you sneeze with your eyes open?
No, that's a fact.
It's not.
You can force enough pressure.
You
through your
cannot
blood
force
vessels
enough pressure
pop an
to
eye out.
pop your eyes out if you
can't.
sneeze.
No, you can pop a eye out, not both eyes.
That is such an urban legend.
Yeah, well.
It is such a myth. Did you know if you
Bitch.
eat cheese before you go to bed, you have nightmares?
It's if you eat chocolate before you bed, you can have vivid dreams. That's
Did you know
true.
if you smell dandelions, you piss the bed?
That's not true.
Oh, that's not true.
So,
but this is really terrifying because it implies limbo limbo and purgatory are different.
no, limbo is just another name for purgatory. In Dante's Divine Comedy, limbo is the first circle of hell.
Oh, and everybody knows that, like, Dante's the be all and end all.
Well, he's the one who created our modern understanding of hell.
Hold on.
You piece of shit, bitch. Fuck you. Shove it up your fanny. Little piece of shit.
No.
Little cock.
It kind of gave me the other side in Poltergeist, kind of, where it's like, they're showing you why souls are desperate to get to the other side, or get back to the other side.
Because it's terrifying.
And it's nothingness. Again, it really did remind me of The Further, or, like the other side in Poltergeist.
I would just sit there in the dark, see that candle in the corner, and be like, that's cool light. Now I'll just meditate.
But I do
Until
love that
the
we
light
saw it
comes
happen
and,
from the other side. We rarely get to see that.
Yeah.
Because we see just like a tiny little light and it's far away. So she's like, she obviously is just the first one to get to it. But then when she goes to it, it's a human hand. So we get to see what the spirits saw
From
when
the
they
other
were all
side.
doing it. And she grabs it, and I believe they were Italian.
I don't know. I didn't catch the... I thought he said habla conmigo, which is Spanish for talk to me.
Okay.
Or talk with me if it's
So it
a
could have been
literal
Spain.
translation. So I guess it, but I also didn't understand what they said. They said something else. I think they said something like "say it" or something
But
like
no, they
that.
said something in English
And
as well,
then-
because he said "talk to me."
Yeah.
Or no, he said "I let you in." They didn't say "talk to me" in English,
Mm.
but they said "I let you in English. That's like the last line of the movie. But we were told at the start of the movie, when all this goes down, that there was another hand somewhere else. Obviously, because people only have two hands. So there was another hand out somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
But it looked like the same hand. But I don't know how it would have gotten from A
there to there.
to-
Yeah. But there's
Yeah.
also a certain sense that time on the other side obviously isn't cohesive. So like we were seeing definitely like time jumps.
But like, where was, or what, like, where's the hand at the end of this? It would have just been in the hospital room.
Yeah, it would have been in the hospital room. So I don't know whether they'd be getting rid of it or whether that was the hand that had moved from there to that location. I
I would
know.
imagine that would be like in evidence somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like the idea that this implies a sequel. I don't need a sequel, but I like the idea that like this problem goes on, and like it didn't end with anybody. Like, we were saying last night on the bus on the way home, if there's a sequel, I'll watch it, but I don't need a sequel to this movie.
I don't need a sequel.
It's all the more terrifying when it's just left this way. You know, you were saying you think there might be an alternate ending. Or you were
I was
kinda
saying, yeah,
hoping for
I
one.
definitely think there's most likely, if not an alternate ending that was shot, at least there was an alternate ending that was written,
Yeah.
or scripted that they may have left on the cutting room floor.
I mean, OG scripts pop up all the time.
All the
nowadays.
time.
I just
Yeah.
read the original Scream script the other day, titled "Scary Movie." Slight differences, but I'm saying like it's always very interesting to see that pop up, to see like how they translated from page to screen. Yeah, I do think this could be open to having a couple of different endings. But I don't know. I really liked this. The ending. Emma stood up and she was like, "I actually liked the ending," which is rare for a horror movie. Which
Yeah.
I think is.
I thought she was joking when she said that to me. I was like, I can't tell if you're joking or not.
No, she's pretty serious. But I think that's a problem that most people have with horror, even horror fans, probably horror fans especially, is generally the third act is where your movie is like, is where you make or break it.
Yeah.
Where I think like, if you can stick the landing, like great, you can do 50 flips in the air, but if you fall on your ass, nobody's going to remember that. People are going to remember you falling on your ass.
Yeah,
Stephen King.
I looked at that specifically with Hereditary, because like when I first seen it,
Damn, that could have been a culture shock.
see now I'm just gonna remember that you fucking hit that and that's gonna come up in the pod.
But exactly, if I had done that and it hit off the walls 50 times and got in there, it would have been great. But if I threw it and it hit off the wall 50 times and landed on the floor, all he would have remembered it is landed on the floor.
Well, it's the same with I had with Hereditary when they how do I explain it? Like the cult aspect that came out of left field, out of nowhere at the end, first viewing, I
Out
was
of
like,
left
what the
field?
fuck? No, but what I mean is like because as a first time viewer, I didn't notice all the subtle details that led up to that, because now I could see and I was like, that
Like going
makes
into
total
it
sense.
the second time knowing it's a cult movie.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So like it made more sense the second time around. So I definitely can perceive it the same way, you know. But yeah.
Great.
Speaking of sequels, this is going off on a little tangent here.
Okay.
But Terrifier 3.
You still haven't seen Terrifier 2.
I know, I haven't seen Terrifier 1 either.
You don't need to see Terrifier 1. Honestly, don't waste your time.
It's in production.
I'm okay with it. Like, I think, like, I
I don't have an
said...
opinion on it because I haven't seen any of it. But you showed me that one scene. I was like,
the whole
maybe,
movie-
maybe
the
I
whole-
don't need to see it.
No, because you were grossed out.
No, just because I was like, that just feels unbelievably gratuitous.
But that's kind of the whole movie. That's what I was saying is... I think I was saying to Lena last night, because I called Lena after I came home.
Yeah.
After my incident. It was... I kind of crave that sometimes, just like a throwback to like an 80s slasher where everything is too much and it's just a person, it's just one antagonist doing some fucked up shit. They don't have any weird motivation or backstory. All we know is that this person likes to kill and fucking rip people apart. sometimes that's all I want from a movie. Like, it's not about anything. It's not about anything deeper. It's not elevated horror, quote unquote. It's just a good old fashioned slasher. I like it. You know, the first one is just student film, and I don't mean that as a
Film.
I'm very Irish that way. I put the U in film. I don't mean student film as a compliment, though. I think, I mean, like, props. They made a movie. Good for you. I've never made a movie, but like, there's no extras. It's a super underpopulated movie. It's just boring. There's one really good scene, which is kind of the scene from the movie. Now, I will admit the kills in it are great, but there's only like 3 of them. No, but with Terrifier 2, it's
whole new level.
because it's an actual movie. There's an actual story. There's an actual plot. I'll watch Terrifier 3 when it comes out, though. Hell yeah.
And what about the Nightmare Redux? The new Nightmare coming out.
We'll see. If some of the rumors actually got debunked, because this has been a thing for years, because it's the only one left that hasn't got a new major reboot or a requel yet. At least of like the bit, like in the pantheon of horror, it's like you have Freddy, Jason, Michael, Leatherface, and we've gotten. Oh, actually, no. We still haven't got a new one for Friday, although that's coming. A24 is making it, though.
That's a prequel series.
It's a prequel series, though, but I'll watch it. But again, those 2 movies have always been in a weird, like, rights kind of bidding war thing.
Well, yeah,
where
because
the rights just went back to Sean Cunningham from Friday the 13th. The original writer.
Yeah,
so
I think
he can do whatever like he wants with it.
I think it's the same thing with what is it, Jeepers Creepers, that
Victor
for
Salva.
Nightmare, it's sort of similar. It's like New Line has to make a movie, otherwise it's going to lose the rights to it.
That's it, yeah. But the rights went up, and there was a bidding war for it, and there has been for a couple of years, because it's like, it's one of the franchises.
Yeah,
you know, it's one of the.
It's
big
a brand
ones,
name,
and everybody still knows it.
Yeah,
you know, there's like my younger sister knows who Freddy Krueger is, even though she might have never seen a Nightmare movie.
He's a pop culture icon.
Exactly. So the rumors were that it was going to be Mike Flanagan making the new Nightmare movie.
He was originally tasked with it Chapter 1, and he dropped out because he was changed. The studio was like, no, you need to keep it a little closer to the book, and then Mike was like literally like changing so much about it.
And it was going to be him and Cary Fukunaga, which I am glad they went with Muschietti. I think like
he made it a little bit more. No, I'm not going to say original, but a little closer to what the book. They were going to have Bill
like
called William.
Yeah.
And I was like, but that's not his name. It's Bill Denborough.
I don't know. I have like such a soft spot for the first It movie, or the first, like, for Chapter 1. Just because, like, it felt like a good turning point for horror at the time. And it was like a good summer movie, and horror was doing really well. I think it like opened the gates for studios to be like, okay, maybe we can give horror a lot of money and maybe give people a little bit of creative freedom and like actually support horror. Because that made like a fucking ton of money.
It sure did. It was really, really skyrocketing in the box office.
Gave us the new Stephen King, like third renaissance that we're getting. But I think with Mike Flanagan, I think he could do very well. Just from actually seeing Dr. Sleep, I was kind of like, okay. Because considering that The Shining is one of my favorite movies and like really, really highly regarded in horror and cinema in general, to make a sequel to that and to have people generally be like, okay, job well done. I think Nightmare would be good, because that also kind of deals with like kind of dreamlike imagery, like the Rose the Hat, like in the sky and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was stunning. I thought it was just a really beautiful movie. I think giving it to somebody like Mike Flanagan might be a good idea. Somebody who obviously has real passion for the genre and isn't just coming at it being like, okay, how can I just make it my own? You know, it's like you have to do a certain level of fan service and give people what they want while also delivering something cool. Or I think like, why the fuck are we getting David Gordon Green doing all these new fucking things? I'm like, somebody like a Mike Flanagan, I think, is well more suited.
Yeah, I think
to
I'd
do
have
something
more
like,
faith.
or like he would have made a much better Exorcist, I think, even though that's not out yet. I still think he deals with... I like his brand of horror more than I like David Gordon Green. Mind you, Halloween Kills is one of my favorite Halloween movies. But I don't know. I'm not opposed to having a new Nightmare movie. I think we're kind of long overdue.
Yeah, overdue,
been
for sure.
13 years.
Since the shitty remake.
That remake was just bad. It's because they didn't do anything
awful.
new with it.
Yeah, they just
tried to
copied and
remake.
paste. Yeah.
I made it look worse. Like, the reason that first movie did so well is because all them effects were practical. And, like, the one thing that I can't get behind, because that movie did have some cool ideas and some cool scenes, is Freddy coming out of the wall. That original
that was
scene
just latex or rubber spandex.
Just a sheet of spandex that they pushed Robert Englund up against. And it looked perfect because he's actually in the room doing that. And then in the new one, they just made it like this big wallpaper ghost coming out of the wall. It looked so dumb. And the ending scene where Connie Britton gets skewered through the eyes and pulled into the mirror, that was epic.
That was stupid.
Oh, like the original fucking sex doll getting pulled through the window. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I thought it was cool.
Well, speaking of dumb, the last thing I really wanted to talk about was The Nun 2.
Oh, that was the other trailer that we saw.
Yeah.
Oh.
So now here's the thing about these.
We should get drunk
things.
and go see that.
I am absolutely so fucking into that. I want to laugh so hard at that.
We're gonna.
So I ended up. My mum wanted to go see the original Nun first film.
Yeah.
And she was just like, "Oh my god, this is the thing from the other movie with the thing in The Conjuring," and I was like, "Yeah, great." So went in, had low expectations, came out with even lower expectations.
It was stupid.
It was like every single jump scare. I never jumped once. I never got.
By the way,
once.
here's a jump scare. Get ready. There's a jump scare coming up.
Yeah.
Did you know? By the way,
I'm
there's a jump
telling
scare.
you, every single jump scare that was about to happen, I knew was coming.
It was so dumb, and I expected so much from it because I thought like 1950s like period piece. Romanian castle.
We should just do a fucking
a watch along
for that film. I just get fucking fucked up by the end of it.
I actually went to go see that with Yemi and Gabby, and we got so twisted. And, we were literally like Max Cady in Cape Fear, just like in the back. Literally just went in, bottle of wine each, and just got locked watching it because it was so stupid.
Yeah, it really is.
Like I had a good time because it's like. Borderline like throwing popcorn at the screen. It was just bad. Now with this movie coming out though, it's like holy fuck. Why do they need to make a second one of these?
What is the MacGuffin that this time around? Like last time
back.
you had literally the blood of Jesus Christ in a vial.
Also, the thing that made me laugh so much because I was excited for like some Catholic shit. Because again, like I like.
Well, it's great imagery, yeah.
But again, they just didn't go anywhere with it. Again,
there was
some cool imagery, but I think that movie made a good poster or make a good wallpaper for like your laptop or something, but not for a whole movie. But they were like, "Oh yeah, no, we have the blood of Jesus. I just don't know where it is." Like that's something you just keep like where you keep your fucking spices
you keep that in
or
the
something.
secret vaults of the Vatican. Like I mean,
exactly though.
Why would you have it in some random Romanian castle?
And also the idea that like that hasn't dried up.
Yeah,
it's been in a glass jar. Like like vanilla extract lasts a long time, but it's also going to evaporate at some point because that's how liquids work.
So like it just. That movie was just so shit, and I'm expecting it, like, because like it's implied in the film that the demon has returned for some reason to get its power back or something like. Okay, so what's the MacGuffin this time?
How it got back?
No. So like, the last
like
time
the
was
wine.
that the demon is looking to escape, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing that's keeping
I did think that was
the
cool
blood
that
of
they
Jesus,
had all
the
the
MacGuffin
crosses
thing.
on the outside, not to keep evil out, but to keep it in. I thought that was kind of cool. But then why would you not just keep that monastery empty?
Yeah.
Why would you
just
populate it with people?
Yeah.
If it needs a vessel to get in and out of, why would you give it vessels?
So it like the one thing that irked me about listening to this trailer is that something along the lines of the demon is returned through the Frenchman, and
Frenchie?
it's looking
He's French
for the demon itself is looking for something to give it its power back.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, here's another religious MacGuffin.
Some little Irish girl is being like, something here's not right.
And like she's like looking at some like mold like under a staircase, and you're just like, oh really, girl, really?
I will watch it. I will give it my money. For some reason,
I'm not gonna give it my money. It's gonna come out on like HBO Max, and we can
no.
just watch it
Listen,
there
we're
for
gonna
free.
go. We're gonna spend our little $5.99 and go to Lincoln
enough.
Valley and get ourselves a little cheap bottle of wine, a couple of little beers, and get fucked up and scream at that movie. I have to invite Yemi though.
Yeah, it's got. Yeah, yeah.
It's so fun.
So yeah.
For some reason, I like the Conjuring movies, even though they're shit and terrible. They're easy, cheesy fun.
The one thing that I love is the Casa La Llorona, which is
she was the hottest chick in this part of Mexico, and then her husband cheated on her, and now she's a ghost.
So like the funny thing is
Don't play by the
like,
water.
They're
We'll get
trying
cheated on over
to,
there.
because it was the shittiest film out of a lot of them. They're trying to avoid it being part of the Conjuring universe.
Even though that priest who's in all the Conjuring
the
movies
priest is in it, and Annabelle appears in it.
They're like, okay, it's like technically part of the Conjuring universe, but we don't really.
Yeah, but we run it because it's not. She's not a thing. She's not
Which
a
is
thing,
annoying
girl.
because the story of La Llorona is great.
Really compelling.
I think that's a good direction for them to go in. Is to go by like we were. I forget what we were reviewing. We were talking about other cultures, like stories and mythologies and stuff. I'm like, do that. Have that be the thing. I don't need the Warrens in all my Conjuring movies.
Yeah,
just go get have a Banshee movie. Have a fucking Hound of Baskervilles if you want. Just have a cool little connected horror cinematic universe.
Give me I think I even said this before, it's like this is why it tells me why I was supposed to say cultural appropriation, but sort of diversification and diversity hiring and things like that don't work, and trying to make something like, let's say something like historically,
just to appeal to the Hispanic audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And rather than actually having faith in a theory or a story like La Llorona and bringing that to the forefront in American culture, rather than just coming up with something American and then slapping a Hispanic lore on it, it just it feels so fake. And that's why I say it was it's the same thing with the Little Mermaid, is putting a black character into a traditionally white character. Whereas it tells me that you don't have faith in stories that can come from other cultures and fantasies and horror characters like a Banshee from Irish culture, that you don't. It tells us that Hollywood and the bigger kind of picture. Yeah, exactly. It has to be tried and true, but let's diversify it. And it doesn't work that way. So historically, everyone just... Yeah. Listen, oh my God, the controversy.
I genuinely don't give a fuck about race swapping. As long as race isn't actually part of the story. Yeah. Because then that's the point. Yeah. Now, Snow White is called Snow White because her skin was white as snow.
Her hair is black as ravens' wings.
And her lips are red as roses or whatever.
As red blood red. Wasn't it as red as blood or something like that?
She has a sister, too, in the original story called Rose Red.
And Gal Gadot
the
is
whole thing.
Her evil stepmother or step queen or something like that.
Now listen, it's also
and the dwarves
aren't
dwarves,
which is weird because there's this weird. I actually watched a video last night. Even an Oompa Loompa in the new Willy Wonka movie is played by Hugh Grant, and people are like, "That's fucked" because you're not casting a real little person. And then it's if I did cast a little person, you would also be pissed. Yeah, because then also they're just getting rid of the idea of dwarves in movies. So it's you're just fucking us over completely. Yeah, because we either can't exist or we exist and it's wrong. Yeah. There's just no way to do it.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Because it's well, she's not Snow White, and they're not dwarves, so you just didn't want to make Snow White and the Seven Dwarves.
Yeah, so there's a theory going around that she was saying it was she's not going to be saved by the prince.
It's not 1943 anymore.
Yeah, she said something was she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to marry him at the end either.
Then why are you making Snow White?
Why are you making Snow White? That's the whole point of the film. What is wrong with you?
Also, what's wrong with falling in love?
What's wrong with wanting to have a prince? What's wrong with
what's wrong with having seven dwarves?
Exactly, but also there's also the idea that she slaves away in the kitchen for them and bakes and things like that.
They love her.
But they fucking love her. They worship her, and Bashful.
She lives with them.
Bashful is
her.
I remember that one scene where she kisses Bashful and he ties his beard into a bow and he just goes all red, and I'm just oh my God, that's so fucking lovely.
That movie actually turned 100 yesterday. I think.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just like, I just looked at it and I thought, like, God,
Or no, it's
Disney.
Disney's 100-year anniversary. They were showing it again in cinemas yesterday.
They just dropped the ball so hard so many times, man.
That's the thing. The Little Mermaid, I'm like, okay.
Well, yeah, that I don't give a
I'm like,
fuck
race
about.
has nothing to do with the
It
Little
has nothing
Mermaid,
to
so
do with
it
that.
doesn't change the story if she's black.
The irony about that is, like, the mermaid that's actually described in the book is actually described as being so pale that her skin is translucent.
Yeah,
that
she's
you
like
can
another
see
sea creature.
through her.
Yeah.
Like, that's really... If you were going to do anything, I'd love to see that version.
I was going to say, I would love to have, like, an actual, like,
Can
fairy
you
tales
imagine a
used to be...
see-through mermaid with, like, long, flowing red hair?
Well, yeah, it's like you can
That's
see
so
through
cool.
fish, generally,
Yeah.
you know? But, like, I think... Like, when did fairy tales become so palatable? Fairy tales are supposed to be, like,
that's the
like
whole point. They're
cautionary tales
escapes
and
and
scary
cautionary.
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
You know, I want to see a Red Riding Hood movie where
I'd love
she
to
has
see the Grimm's brothers
where she has
again,
to
yeah.
cut a wolf open and see her grandmother spill out all over the dock.
Yeah.
Or, like the Little Mermaid, I want to see it not
Sew
work
her
out at the
fucking
end.
legs back together.
Exactly. I want to see it not work out at the end and have her turn into sea foam and then become a daughter of the air. You know, I thought they were going to maybe go with that ending. They
didn't do that. I still haven't watched it. I probably never will watch that movie.
It's actually very
Couldn't care.
good. I did really like it, except they added 2 new songs in it, which are
Garbage.
but they're literally like 30 seconds long. They're like tiny little like kind of exposition moments. They're not full moments. But I thought maybe they were going to go with the ending that it didn't work out for Ariel, and that maybe the lesson to kids was sometimes you don't always get what you want, because that's the point of fairy tales, is to be like, sometimes life is shitty, but here's a fairy. You know,
make it all better.
Exactly. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or what is it? All the women in Cinderella, they are like cutting off toes to try and fit into the slipper.
Yeah.
Or
do you know what they
whatever it
did
is.
to the evil stepmother after that?
What?
They cast her feet in iron shoes.
Oh, iron shoes.
Made
She had to
her
dance
stand
around.
in flames until they were red hot and made her dance until she died.
Yeah.
That's fucked up, bro. That's crazy.
Which is weird to me how, again, we haven't been even talking about Talk to Me for like half an hour, but like, that's fine. Like, fairy tales are so part of most stories nowadays. But I'm like, make them fucked up. Give me a scary Red Riding Hood, because that story is scary. You know, it gave, like The Wizard of Oz, I think, is the perfect example of, it's like, here's a fairy tale kind of set on the face of it. It's very plainly set. But they also kill a witch. They also, like, that movie has the first...
Set her house on fire.
Exactly. They
A witch
also have,
cannibalizing kids.
they also have the first dismemberment in cinema in that movie, because the scarecrow gets pulled apart. You know? I'm like, just make them fucked up, because kids can handle stuff like that. And those are like the perfect delivery systems. Like, Disney taught me to be afraid of fat, ugly old people. You know?
Fair enough.
If something looks weird, don't trust them, you know? But seriously, even Disney used to have balls and used to actually show you the scary side of things. You know? We don't traumatize kids anymore.
God, we need to do that more.
Sometimes trauma is useful. I'm just saying. And so next week we're going to do...
What are we doing, bitch?
We're going to do like the 90s classic. In my head, it's a 90s classic.
Is it's 90s? No, not early 2000s.
It's
no.
totally 90s.
It's 90s?
It's like 97 or something. Will you look that up for me?
Okay. So what is it? What are we doing?
We're doing Patricia Arquette stars in Stigmata. Oh, I love it so
How's your
much.
faith these days, father?
Oh, I love it so much.
1999.
Okay, well, there we go. Right on the coast.
Yeah.
This movie always really reminds me of my mom. My mom likes this movie.
My mama.
But like, my mom doesn't really like horror movies.
Yeah.
But when she does, I'm always like, ooh, cool. Like, her favorite nightmare movie is the third one. So yeah, we're going to do Stigmata. One of my favorite movies as a kid. One of my favorite movie covers as well. Just her on the... It's like female Jesus. I just thought it was really cool.
Her ribs are like kind of exposed and stuff.
Exactly. Like, they're really like emaciated.
sunken in, yeah.
It's just like a really gorgeous movie, a lot of great imagery, a really cool story.
Super, super, super like early 2000s, late 90s, like flash cuts.
There's
and,
an
like,
image
slow
of
motion
Mary holding a
movements.
baby, and she's wearing like a blue metallic coat. You know? One of my favorite pieces of jewelry ever. Patricia Arquette in that movie, Frankie, is wearing a green acrylic ring, but it's a huge green ball.
Yeah.
And I've looked for something like that forever. ever and can't
Yeah.
find shit. But and Elise Neal is in it too. She's one of my
Oh
favorite
yeah, of
people.
course.
Yeah. Or no, not Elise Neal. Nia Long
And Gabriel Byrne.
and Gabriel Byrne.
Yeah.
Nia Long. Ooh, she hasn't been on the podcast yet. I fucking love Nia Long.
So yeah, thanks for listening,
You sure did.
bitch.
Au revoir.
Bang.